Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome, everybody, to a Tuesday. It's not Monday. It's Tuesday, obviously. A Tuesday stream. It is Tuesday afternoon. It is 12:30 p.m., and I hope everyone is doing well and is looking forward to a wonderful and actually somewhat spooky, appropriate to the season, session of this Adventures of Middle-earth Erebor Adventures. I am very excited to be doing this. As you will note, there are going to be some interesting aspects of this. I see a little bit of a tomb in the future of this adventure if you look at the cover, and there is a tomb in our future as far as this adventure is concerned. What do you mean, you say, Arv? You will all know in just a moment. You will all be witnesses. But before we go any further, just a couple of reminders about ways to support the channel here. If you haven't already done so, please follow the channel. That is always appreciated. Please check out our YouTube, which is !ArvTube. That will have all of our past broadcasts of this and other streams, and subscribing to me over there would be really great, as we're trying to get that above 1,000 subscribers. Which will give me a lot of different options that I can have in terms of flexibility and things like that. So please consider jumping on board with subscribing over there. Free for you, but it definitely helps me. !Arvcord is the Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. We have over 225 members on that Discord channel now, so you can definitely hang out with us over there. !Arvtweets is my Twitter, where I will always tweet when I'm going live with various things. And if you haven't done so, you can check that out on my website for all of this, which is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, that's... yeah, I know. I saw a similar article to that, Arudnell. I even saw one where there was an online class run by a professor who had passed away several months before, and nobody told them because it was all like an asynchronous online thing. That's creepy. Anyway, so yes, arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, !Arv Shop is the merchandise area where you can get stuff for Adventures of Middle-earth, Infinity and Beyond, and soon to be Esper Genesis as well. !Arv Treon is the Patreon. Yep, it's already a thing, I know. The Patreon, which is the financial backbone of the channel, really does make a difference if you're able to support us over there. And of course, !Arv Treon for that lets you get inspirations to help the players, copies of one of my band's albums, a writing critique, epic character background, an epic poem written about you, a bunch of other stuff that you can get both for you and, again, for the channel, depending on the tier at which you support, so that's much appreciated. And you can sub to the channel, of course, which gets you those custom sub badges and emotes, and also allows you to inspire the players, depending on the tier at which you support the channel. On the publishing side, !Icarus, my Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts. Very excited about the future of that series. Also, !Library, Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, which is now out in print to the Kickstarter backers and to your friendly local game store. And after, I think, about 6 weeks or so, it's going to be made available to the general public in print form and hardback form, which is really cool. In the meantime, you can still get it, of course, on digital via the drive-through RPG link that you see right there. And !Grayshade KS is the Grayshade Kickstarter. More details about that coming soon. It will involve both Alligator Alley and Athos Arts and many other awesome places and people and companies, so more details about that to come. And as always, !BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and !Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. Now, having said all of that, quick note on schedule. Today we have got a busy day here on the channel. It's going to be a very busy day for yours truly, actually, because I've got a bunch of things to do, and then I have some discussions about a conference thing, and then I've got more streaming stuff to do, and then I've got to do some grading tonight. So it is busy. And I will say also, as another busy day in the house, the Casa del Arv thing, that you may or may not hear some banging sounds or hammering sounds down, which is going on below me. I don't think you can hear it very well, if you could at all, but that is because they are today replacing the other two windows in my daughter's room and bringing them up to, the 21st century, these windows, which will be much better, both for my energy bills and also in terms of just, seal to the outside and all that kind of stuff. Because, old home. So we had to make these adjustments. So you may hear a little bit of that. If so, I apologize in advance, but hopefully not too much of that. But yeah, I've got a busy day today. So we start with Adventures of Middle-earth. We're going to be doing this until about 3:15 p.m. or so. Then at 4 p.m., I start with D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh over on GOG.com's Twitch channel. I will be over there until 7 o'clock. Then I have a meeting, which I will not be streaming, relating to a conference that I often attend that is going to be happening at 7. Only reason I mention that is because I'm going to be doing that, grabbing a little bit of dinner, and then at 9 p.m. this evening, we have the Your Vocalists, who it looks like are going to be coming at you with a new game today. And that new game, again, this is not 100% confirmed, but it looks likely, is going to be a game called Wide Ocean Big Jacket. Kind of a quirky, sort of low-key, interactive visual novel, sort of. It's kind of an interesting thing. You will see when it's there, but it's going to be a cool thing for the voice actors. We're going to be taking a couple of months away from the Phoenix Wright stuff. We usually do that. We do Phoenix Wright for a few months, then we cut away from it, and we do something else for a few months. So we will come back to Phoenix Wright to Apollo Justice in the future, but we're going to be spending a few months doing some other things. Last time we did that, we ended up with NeoCab, which was great. So hopefully we're going to get a good experience out of this. This is a little quirkier than that, but yeah, so that's what we've got going on tonight. Tomorrow we have D&D with the community, so community D&D with the amazing Shadow Crew, Dragon of Icespire Peak with Shadowed Mage as your DM. And then Thursday will be off, and then Friday we're going to be here with Rebel Crown. Very exciting. Rebel Crown is the one that I actually play in. It's a joint event of this and Speculate, and we're closing to the end of that campaign. Either 1 or 2 more sessions probably for Rebel Crown. So that'll be happening on Friday, and then Saturday we have more D&D with INB with some Eberron coming at you, and that is going to be cool because the Eberron stuff... man, the campaign is just going to have so many cool things to it. I can't wait to square it with yes, quirkier than Haganon. That's true. Garlic tofu. Oh, that guy. But anyway, very cool. Very excited to share it with all of you. But for right now, I am very excited to share with all of you this amazing crew of players. And I apologize for interrupting them in whatever conversations they were having that I couldn't hear. And then I will unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to bring you on over to the amazing full crew. You can see they are prepared and ready. They are ready.
So as I was saying about beer, yeah, the beer Bible that I was talking about is great. Sorry. Yes. Is this good to you?
Yeah.
What were you
saying?
No,
that's fine. I mean, listen, when you say beer Bible, I'm reminded of the letter B, and that reminds me of my hat and the team which is currently leading 2-1 in the American League Championship Series after obliterating the Astros last night. And with that, I'm going to bring us on to.
No!
I'm going to bring us on to. Listen, I grew up, I spent a lot of my life debating and being able to rip a concept and segue it into what I wish. Anyway, it is lovely to see these wonderful people before you. And I will begin with the gentleman who would very much like a $10,000 isolation booth. So if any of you could just drop $10K right now.
Or if you have an isolation booth handy.
Yeah, if you have just a used one lying around, DM us and we will have it sent. And just dropped outside of Trent's door. Hi, Trent. How are you?
Let's be really clear. We're talking about a vocal booth, not an isolation booth. So.
This is one of those things where it's like the difference between... I've heard this articulated as like the difference between New York and LA is that New York wants its isolation booths for podcasts and LA wants its isolation booths for other things and stuff. But anyway... That's I'm sure that dichotomy does not actually hold true. I'm sure people in New York also have.
I mean, anyway. when you're talking about a used isolation booth, it's like, no, have it disinfected
what was it used
before.
For? Yeah.
Don't. I will tell you. Don't.
I will not even further ask that question.
And we were talking about quackadiles in the green room. So quackadiles and beer.
Okay.
Hey, I'm not the one who was doing the choose your own adventure book drawing thing. Don't talk anyway. So yeah, I would be Trent Sparks. I'm what do I do? I don't sleep enough is what it is apparently. I am a voice actor. That's what it is. And audiobook narrator. Wow. I'm actually just vamping while I'm opening my character sheet, because normally I do all this stuff even before our calls, and so everything's all nice and set up and everything. This way I can just say I'm playing, and then I turn and I read Thane Tawnybear, the Hearthmender Dwarf Friend. That way I can get it all on one thing with that. But normally I have read it a couple of times so that I can remember it while I'm looking at the camera, and then I forget because I'm looking at the camera. And because normally I don't narrate while staring into a camera. I do that while staring at this monitor, but this monitor just has people on it. People such as a Brad.
Thanks, Dren. Good to see you. And Echo, have a good film club meeting in chat. It is a pleasure to have, of course, Brad with us. Brad, you have now got, of course, this new desk of yours, which it's a standing desk that is able to move up and down, and it creates the halfling effect. So at a certain point, Brad is going to show us what it's like to be a halfling, and we'll spend the rest of his time like, this type of thing. All the way around. How are you doing, Brad? How is the, I know you talked to us a little bit about this in the green room. How publicly can you now affirm the greatness of this desk and all this stuff, and how are you doing?
I can confirm it. It is quite great. And wait, what's happening? Am I shrinking?
Yep. It's official.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my God. It's like in another
Welcome,
town.
Bolo.
Okay.
It's like he
Yes.
he really invests the role, just like.
Yes.
Oh
You
my
method
God.
acting
This is
here.
adorable.
This is like when like, was it three games ago where like all the characters were arguing back and forth and Bola was just sitting there doing this.
Yes.
It's like the perfect angle for it.
Absolutely.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I'm Brad Bollier, fantasy author who has a science fiction book coming out soon, and I'm playing Bolabras Took, who is a jaded hobbit at this point. No, not jaded. He's quaking though, because a crypt of some sort has just been opened, and he's looking at it with wary eyes at this point. So he's a bit nervous right now. But also he is a treasure hunter, and he's wondering if there are treacherous things inside.
Yes, indeed, and that is going to be a prominent aspect. That question will be a prominent aspect of today's session. And thank you, Brad. I look forward to seeing what Bolo gets up to. I also want to mention, because Echo just reminded me that I completely forgot about nominations for the Patreon Field Game of the Month last week. Totally forgot. And so because I forgot, we're going to have to do that today. So I will thank you for reminding me, because otherwise I would have been like, hey, it's the Patreon Field Game. Wait, what am I playing? Because I would have no idea. So this is what happens when you try to catch up from a 4-day con in Origins. It like the ripple effects, people. I did it like 2.5 weeks ago and still. Anywho. So, but I will do nominations today. I'll probably do those this one later on, Echo. But moving right along, not only do we have the amazing Trendane and the incredible Brad, but we also have with us the astonishing Terry Tunes, who is currently with us and is hanging out and has got the antlers and stuff and has some exciting news, which I'm not going to share with you. But at some point, just be aware that there is exciting news in Terry's future that she will share with you at some point. At some point in the distant future, whenever she chooses to. And with that incredibly vague comment, I will say, how are you doing, Terry? And how's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing?
I do have exciting news because in, let me check, 2 weeks, I believe. Roughly 2 weeks, I'll be getting the keys to my new house.
Yay!
I'll finally be moving.
Now it can be
Oh
told.
my God. That's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
Hooray. So this
We've
means,
been-
sorry, what's the timeline here? Does it mean like by perhaps the next time that we convene, you might be in your new house, or is it farther down the line?
That might happen, actually. Like the thing is, I don't have a moving date yet. This is just when we get the keys, and then we're gonna start painting the walls and stuff.
Right.
And I need to like organize like all the moving stuff. Like currently, I'm like cleaning out my place, like, sorting everything out. Today I brought I Marie Kondoed my entire closet situation.
Nice.
I have this image of you going
got
through.
rid of like 10 kilograms worth of clothes.
I have this image of you going through your stuff, Terry, and like picking up everything and then being like, does Lorelei spark joy? Yes, Lorelei sparks joy. Like, just grabbing every item and like,
I mean, what happens if you've been keeping, for instance, an orc arrow for like a super long time, just in case it comes in handy? I feel like a closet, 10 kilos of clothes that you could potentially use to like strangle enemies. I don't know.
This is an excellent point.
To be fair, like the vast majority of clothes that I did get rid of are simply things that I don't fit into anymore. Because I did gain some weight over the past few years. So like most of my stuff, like, I still had clothes that I bought when I was like 15.
Right.
So it's like literally 15 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, no, I haven't worn this in years because it doesn't fit me anymore. Like even remotely, I have this like beautiful green, white floral dress, which like you looked so good on me. And now when I try it on, I can't even get it over my chest anymore. It's like, yeah, no, that does not fit.
Well, also, if you have any shirts that are especially, needy to you for this particular show, make sure you put them somewhere you can find them immediately after moving.
Can confirm, still missing one box of my shirts 6 months after moving. Still bitter about it.
Well, the problem with my shirt for this group is that I have like 3 white shirts, so you can imagine how often I do white laundry, which is like once half a year probably, and I'm not overstating that. It's like always like sorting my laundry. Okay, this is white laundry, I can like move this over, like always need to do the black laundry first, so yeah.
So your black laundry is like every day, right? You're just like,
yeah, basically
like clean, and then white laundry is once every 6 months. Yeah,
April. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Garlic Tofu's 11-year-old is now wearing all your 90s clothes, so sometimes it works out. Yeah, that's true. You could hold on to this stuff and put it into the Terry future child, clothing array. Listen, let me tell you, when you find out how much kids' clothing lasts and how it lasts on them for about a week before they grow out of it, you will want. Brad can back me up on this. You will want to find places this. Oh, man.
Well, as someone who has been a kid in their life, believe it or not.
What's that like?
Different.
That like,
not the same. Kids don't have any perception
but like,
of it
I
the
had
same
that
way.
problem
really.
where like I would like, because I was like, I'm really tall for a woman, first of all, like even by German standards. Like even by Dutch standards,
waiting
tall,
for that.
which is like ridiculous.
Wow. These standards keep going up, even by Amazonian standards. Like, wow, really?
No, by those standards, I'm short.
Okay.
But anyway, like when I was like a teenager, like I would literally need to buy new trousers like every 2 or 3 months, because like what was like a perfectly fitting pair would like in a few months just like reach to the middle of my calves, basically, which is just.
And you just wear them as capris.
Capris,
yeah, exactly.
So
but
yeah, anyway. Yeah, I'm playing Thane Inge Homefinder, daughter of Ida, Council of Dine II. She is a stonemason and a wanderer and a clan chief, and currently full of dread in the form of shadow points. But we are fine, yes. And she also has a pony. I was going to mention that. A trusty pony sidekick named Lilleman, who is usually and always actually the MVP of the party.
Most valuable pony.
Most important
That's true.
pony.
I mean, there's absolutely accurate. She
most
always is the most valuable pony. Yeah. They're not having any other ponies. That totally fits.
By the way, but yeah, with my moving situation, that also means that I might not be super available for streams next month. Just a heads up.
Yeah, so bear with us.
We'll see about that.
We're going to see. It's possible that Terry may or may not sneak into one next month, depending on how things go, or a couple, but it just very much up in the air, which we totally get. And
we've got the time change coming up. So
yeah,
oh god,
that's happening the first or second week in November. I don't know. We will see. Yeah, we're gonna.
Let me check.
We'll get an hour back. We will get more sleep, so that's nice. But
no guarantees.
Well, for you, sir, which is a little bit of a you are not a definable average to anyone when it comes to sleep schedule. Anyway, but it is a pleasure to have Terry with us, and it is also, of course, is always a pleasure to have Amal Amatar with us, who you can see right there. I will mention, by the way, that Amal has been generous enough, along with Max Gladstone, to return virtually to my class, my science fiction class, in a few weeks. I'm going to be teaching This Is How You Lose the Time War again, and they were kind enough to do this last time, and so now they're going to be doing it. And I actually mentioned this yesterday to my science fiction class, and they were like, Oh, I was like, yes, well, sometimes some professors can get these people and some can't. No, but no, I am actually, it was genuinely really one of the highlights of the class last time. And everyone mentioned like, this was great that we could do this. And so I'm very grateful. Thank you, Amal, for being willing to do that again. And yeah, how is life with you in the universe, and who are you playing today?
Things are okay. I am a little dazed because I do a lot of teaching on Tuesdays specifically before this, so I'm always a little like, I'm not teaching now. I am doing a fun thing, which is also, teaching is often fun, but very
Different kind of fun.
Yes. Anyway, so I'm doing pretty well. I just discovered that it's a fortunate discovery, which is that again, I have been super underplaying a power of my characters. So I play a character named the River, who is a woodsman of Rosgovel and is a fighty bard. One of the characteristics of being a warden is that you have something called gift dice, which go up in power as you level.
Right.
And I knew this, and I had been changing that. It starts out as a D4. At this level that we're at, it becomes a D8. I had changed that. What I had not changed was the language of Songs of Slaying, which says that you give a D4 to whoever you want, in battle to apply to their damage or attacks. That is supposed to be whatever the die is at for the warden's gift die.
Oh, so you can always be giving people a D8 is what
I should be giving them a D8. And I literally do it in every other instance.
Yep.
But that one I just hadn't manually changed in it. And I just kind of became accustomed to thinking, oh, I guess for this one, because it's an area effect, maybe it's just always a D4. No, it's a D8. So all this time.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. It's like your later album work, where everyone's like, really, honestly, like Porcupine Tree doesn't really hit their stride really until Trains, and before that, that's what it is. Like you got to the point where now your songs are just, people are like, this song is really awesome. Like this is really, top notch, that kind of thing.
So true. I keep hoping to have some such similar revelation about armor class. I'm like, just what? Better armor class. Maybe I've miscalculated somewhere. I don't know. We'll see. But it sure would be cool.
Well, when dexterity goes up for you, at some point, I believe there is an attribute benefit. I have to take a look at when that would happen.
Cool.
But if that happens, that obviously will have an impact on AC. So.
It might be nice. Anyway, in addition to that, River has her faithful Hound of Mirkwood named Stone, who is super cute as well as super vicious. In appropriate situations.
Yes, when needed.
When needed. Mostly he's just a very good boy.
Yes, that's right. And it is true that much of this, any combat involved at some point involves Amal wincing as Stone is hit by something and then getting really pissed off at whoever hit Stone. This is something which which Terry goes through sometimes, except that when Lillimon gets hit, Terry's like, not only like wincing, but also is like, this is really bad, because it doesn't usually happen. So when Bolo, for example, had to ride the Lillimon back to the city and got there and literally fell over practically from exhaustion, Terry was like, this better be fine, Arv. All right, this better be fine. It's just not used to, this better be okay. So anyway,
you do not want to see me pissed off.
You don't. Okay, I know. I do not want to see that. But it is good to see everyone here. I am very pleased that we are here, and let's talk a little bit of what happened last time. And yes, thank you, Arudinel. That's right, Hilarious Game Master. This is it's using Adventures of Middle-earth that was produced by Cubicle 7. It's based on 5e rules, but there are a lot of things that are tweaked specifically for Adventures of Middle-earth, like shadow points and corruption, which these players know a lot about now. And unfortunately, it is out of print because Cubicle 7 no longer publishes it. Now it's going to be done by Free League, and when Free League gets around to actually getting to AIME, I am going to be, I've already approached them. I'm going to do so again in the hope that we can get sponsored by them as Cubicle 7 sponsored us, because this is the only campaign I know that is doing this particular game on Twitch. It's also an incredible group of players, and they should be watching it because it's great storytelling. Herein endeth the advertisement. Anyway, let us move into our map here. Let's fire up some music and let's talk a little bit about what happened last time, as this is going to be a very interesting session. I'm very curious to see how the party will handle certain things that are discovered here. Let's fire up some
Previously on Erebor Adventures.
Oh, dude, please.
Da-dum.
Can you do that all the time, please? Like every so often,
Yes.
Trent's just like, "Oh, here we go. Here's my," and I'm like, "Oh yes, this is why he's an incredible voice." Yes, please narrate
An
more.
actor.
Oh man. Okay, we've got that. Give me some more ancient winds.
So while he does that, like
Perfect.
to like rewind a little bit about what Trendane mentioned way earlier, we were like talking about some of the illustrations that I did for like our gamebook illustration streams that we do like the other Tuesdays, and like I just like spamming old drawings from that one out of context in the Discord group right now because some of these are just too good out of context.
Yeah, we looking at these, it just occurs to me what crazy stuff both chat and Terry and I get into. And I remember this session. Oh man, the one drawing here has a picture of me yelling at my mic with my hat on saying raisins ruined my headphone jack because I was having tech problems. It was very funny because Terry knows that my frustrations, the tech problems have died down considerably, but still on occasion they will happen, and I do not like them. I do not want them, Sam. I am. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about what happened in our last session. In our last session, the crew of the Anduinats have made their way through the Northern Dalelands and into the Waste, looking for a dwarven scholar whose name is Domi. And by the way, I didn't have a chance to show this before, but I'm going to show it now. I actually have a picture of Domi for all of you. And the picture will be popping up on the stream right now. This is a picture of Domi. He is a dwarven scholar of some renown. And when the party tracked down and found Domi, originally when they were looking for Domi, they knew only that he had set out to try to come to Dale and speak with King Bard, but had been apparently missing. And it turned out as the party did their search that the reason was because his traveling party had been waylaid by some array of bandits and taken away. The party tracked them through the Northern Dalelands and into the Waste. There were several encounters that were more than a little bit unpleasant for this crew, and in fact, as we begin our session, the party has a lot of shadow issues. Inga has 8 shadow points, Tani has 4, Bolo has 2, excuse me, the river has 3, even Stone has a shadow point, and all of these things are better than they used to be because the party did actually get, because of a particular role, I don't remember which one it was, did manage to get something which allowed them to reduce their shadow point total by a couple. So it was even worse before.
It was our arrival roll.
Oh, that's right. Okay. But it was, even as it was worse before. So it could have been even worse than it is right now. But so that is what the party was dealing with previous to this. When they actually tracked down, bear with me just a second because my notifications thing for some reason is not on and I don't know why. 1 second. I'll almost be with you in 1 second. Okay, don't do that. Okay, I think we got it now. So,
mommy?
That's a very good friend of mine. He and I've been friends for about 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. That's what I was.
Maybe a little more.
Now it's working. Thank you very much, Hilarious Game Master. I appreciate it. Thank you for the follow. So, as the party managed to, get their way through into the Waste, they finally discovered their quarry. Specifically, they found Domi and the remaining members of his dwarven crew. Oh, I should mention that the party before this rescued from wolves a man named Clifford, who was a person originally from Bree, who was taking care of the horses along with this dwarven party. With Clifford's help and with the party's own tracking skill, they managed to find Domi and his party in the Waste, where they were digging into this part of the land that seemed otherwise unremarkable, surrounded by 2 groups. First, a group of mysterious-looking bandits, these sort of unfortunate, grim-faced men who had cloaks and hoods, and one sort of small creature who they determined it was some kind of goblin who appeared to be leading them. and a set of hobgoblins that apparently were negotiating or arguing with the group that was watching over the dwarves. Taking advantage of this mutual suspicion and taking advantage of multiple ridiculous rolls, the party was able to convince both groups that they were fighting each other, which made it considerably easier for the party because it meant that they were mostly fighting just a few of these very, actually pretty efficient combat-wise bandits, but the rest of the bandits were dealing with the hobgoblins on the other side of this ridge, and that gave the party some much-needed buffer. They were able to, in a very long combat session we had last time, defeat these creatures, and they finally split slightly in that the River and Inga, I believe it was, went to track down and knock out, render unconscious, the goblin leader of this group, while Tani and Bolo were watching Domi and the rest of the dwarves who wanted to finish what they had started, basically digging into this thing underground. And what they discovered at the very end of that process, he said, reaching down for his description, what they discovered at the very end of that process was at the bottom of these stairs, which had been dug out by the dwarves, they found the steps were covered in heavy black ash. They swept away that ash, and at the bottom was a stone door, untroubled by time. It was set into a dark gray wall, kept shut using 4 rope knots held by wax seals, which they were able to determine was bearing the sigil of Jirian of Dale, of course. And dried by the arid air of the waste, the seals were, crumbled basically upon inspection. And when they opened the door, which was not locked, it just opening to an area within. And that was where we ended our session last time, and it's where we pick up today with me asking the party what they'd like to do. I'm actually going to begin with Inga and the River because you were the ones off dealing with this goblin. So I want to ask what you want to do with him first, then I'll jump back to Tani and Bolo. I assume the party will be uniting in the not too distant future. But Inga and the River, what do you want to do with this goblin?
We've trussed him up, right? We've
yes. He was just lying unconscious. You can do that if you wish. Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I specifically,
non-lethal
to
non-lethal.
tie him up and drag him back with us.
Okay.
Yeah. To interrogate presumably. So I think that just carrying him back. Inga is much stronger than River, I think, but River will still assist if possible. So yeah, I think the idea is that we're gonna just carry him back to the others. River does actually want to talk to Inga while they're alone, though.
After you,
having just knocked him unconscious. So, so just to recap, what happened here was that. Seeing that these the danger was fleeing and stuff, Inga had bolted out after this guy, right, to go and take him down, and River ended up following her, right? I'm remembering that correctly.
Maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry. You asking me? I'm sorry. I thought you were asking Terry. Sorry, my fault. Say that again.
I'm asking everyone who was here last time.
Okay.
It's so. I think I'm imagining that they'll start walking back in silence, kind of trudging through the wastes, and River is going to River is quite troubled. She's been very dour and capital M miserable since they came into the wastes and stuff. And as they're walking, she starts to say. She kind of stops and starts a few times as if she wants to say something and just can't quite figure out how. And finally just says, You keep running off into danger by yourself. Why do you do that?
I wasn't in danger. He was.
You did this with the wargs too. You just didn't come back to the rest of us. You didn't wait till we were there with you. You just charged into a pack of wargs by yourself. And you were almost dead by the time we got there.
Well, if I would have gone back, then fuck, what's his name again? Clifford.
Cliff, yeah.
Then Clifford would have. Pretty sure he would have been dead. So
I don't know. That feels like an excuse. I feel like since we were at that pool, it feels like you keep just looking for more and more dangerous situations to put yourself in, even though there's no shortage of danger for all of us to be in together. But I just keep seeing you go off by yourself, and it scares me. And I don't know if you even know that you're doing it.
Well, all I know is that no one else is gonna die on my watch. So are you gonna help me tie this dude up?
Oh, I'm totally imagining they're walking with him, carried already. Yeah. This is like a walking conversation.
Okay.
All right, well, just, you can't watch the world. You can't be responsible for everyone. And I just worry about you.
Well, you shouldn't. I'm fine. And you get the vibe that probably...
Narrator, he was not fine.
Not as fine as she leads on to be.
Well, River will let that go for a beat, and then we'll just say, I love you, Inga. I just don't want you to hurt yourself because you're in a dark place, all right?
Inga gets super flustered. Try not to look flustered.
River just staring ahead as she says this, not the benefit of just walking, carrying a trussed up goblin and stuff.
I think Stone though looks up kind of like just silently at Inga.
Well, everything is gonna be fine, okay? Don't worry so much.
All right. That's all. That was my they can walk in silence for the rest of the way.
So listen, I could sit back and watch that for a long time.
And how I imagine this looking is that Inga is holding the goblin's feet and walking, and River is holding his arms, but as she's got his arms, his head is hanging down, and it keeps knocking on rocks while they're walking across.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Donk, donk,
yeah,
donk sound.
Okay. In the meantime, Bolo and Tani, you are looking into this this tunnel that is opened up before you. And in fact, I'm going to bring you over to it.
Oh, by the way, we didn't just tie him up, we also muzzled him.
Okay. Yeah, because he's probably going to become conscious again, you would guess, by the time you get back to the group. This is one thing that I had to learn in putting together action scenes, that the classic knock them out and then they're out for 6 hours. If they're out for 6 hours, they're dead. That's not how this works. You get knocked out for 5 minutes, maybe you hit 10, but brain damage sets in. You can't, people don't just get knocked out for conveniently for 3 hours, it doesn't, unless you just want to kill them off, in which case that's a whole other thing. Okay, so anyway,
somebody seems to be speaking from experience here.
No, I have not personally, thank God.
How many people have you knocked out?
I, however, hey, I was a medic in the army. I know these things.
Yeah, that's good. Right, exactly, Rudnell. Just it's like the games where you're just all right, you've knocked them out. That should hold them for 12 hours. No, that death would hold them forever if that's how that works. Okay, so I'm going to bring us over to a new map.
Ooh, I do like maps.
And please ignore the number 1, which is not actually there. Again, I will reiterate my desire for player-facing maps that are not just. But anyway, that's okay. So you see the inside these stairs, these fairly wide stairs actually, lead down to this door, which, as I mentioned, is open. Now, obviously, it is dark inside, and so the question is what people are going to use. Some people may be able to see, other people may not be able to see. But for those who are, you can just go in there normally, but you're going to need presumably some kind of a torch or something like that for those who do not have some version of dark vision or the like. So you're able to just see right past that. What's that?
Haha, plebs.
Yeah, right, exactly. For those of you who don't really know what it's like to be underground. So you can just see.
Well, to be fair, dwarven night vision in this game, like I still need some dim light.
Right, and there is there's a little bit of light that comes into what looks like a chamber that's right past it, and there's some kind of a almost looks like a little bit of a vestibule, and I don't know why we have. I think we put Inga there, but that's fine. Anyway, you get the idea. You put them. Okay, so you're not quite there
because
quite
I'm assuming we need those.
Yeah, you are going to need them. That's true. I'm going to reduce the size of these a bit.
But I'm huge.
Yes.
I have the same night vision.
Okay. So is it just Tawny and the River who do not?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and Clifford.
And Clifford. That's right. Well, about Clifford. So.
And I'm assuming ponies also don't have night vision, but let me check my notes.
But the mines are no place for a pony.
Clifford.
Well, this is not a mine.
Remember what happened with Bill, you know. So Clifford.
I can't hear you. You're blurry. What?
Oh, God damn it, dude. This so annoys me. Why don't they? I don't understand. I love this camera, but sometimes it just does not understand the need of focus. I think it's this microphone. Anyway.
Actually, I have a character sheet for Lillimond, which I hand wrote.
Yep.
Yep.
I remember that. I like the way it's laid out with, of course, Lillimond's awesome picture. So, who some professional made? I mean, I don't know who that be. So now Clifford is standing up at the top of these stairs. So when Domi goes down and has got the door open, and in fact, I think I should bring him over while I'm on the subject. Let's see. There's Domi. There he is right here. So Domi is standing facing the doors and is very excited as if he wants to just rush in, but he doesn't immediately do that. He kind of looks back over his shoulder. Now Clifford is, behind you, a few feet actually, even above the top of the stairs, pretty near to Lillimon. And Clifford says, right, if you don't mind, I think I'll just stay up here. I don't think the ponies might, spook down there, and that's not. You probably don't. I'll be here near the top stairs where you don't. Yeah, he seems quite very obviously not interested in going into a tomb below
River pats his shoulder in what she hopes is a comforting gesture, and says, "I think that's a good idea."
Wait. Arf, can you remind us, please? Like, did we take care of all the bandits / orcs?
Yes,
like
there were a
no
few.
one left alive.
Well, there were a few that had run far enough that they escaped you because you were focusing on the goblin. There were like 3 of those bandits that got away, but you did not see any sign of them. Of course, there's still a threat out there, but they are nowhere near to you at present because you have very good vision of the land around. So, but there were a few, 3 of them I think that escaped.
If they would try to get to us. They all ran away, right? Okay.
Right, that's right. They ran away.
Yeah. Like we saw them run away and diminish as specks in the waste and stuff.
Right.
Presumably,
doesn't mean they can't come back later. They could, but
they could, but it would take them time and moving at the same rate and stuff. I do think, and I mean, I think it makes some sense to post Clifford as a lookout for that matter. Actually, River will say that to him. She'll say, "Yes, I think you should stay here and be a lookout and you have a job."
Oh, I absolutely. Nothing will get past me for sure. He seems extremely pleased. Oh yes, I've actually when back in Bree I did a little bit of lookout duty over there, and for the Barlaman used to hire me once in a while for that, and of course I'd be happy to.
That's wonderful, Clifford.
Yeah,
He's
Inga
saying this
goes
as
and-
he's backing up with Lilimon a few steps further, like, you know.
So are we not gonna question this guy first? And like, Inga probably put him down on the ground for now. That like just kicks him.
Yeah, and at this
Like-
point you hear a little groan from him as he seems to be. His eyes kind of flicker open, and obviously he's muzzled, so seems a little sullen and obviously in pain.
Question. Sorry, this is like a timing thing, I think, but I think that River would actually have asked this like before he woke up. So before he wakes up, she would have wanted to ask Domi, what is it that you expect to find in here? Why is this so important? Like,
so I would say timing wise, you can't. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say I don't think you're going to be able to ask that question before he wakes up, because it'll take you 5 to 10 minutes at least to walk back.
Oh,
with
fair
him.
enough.
So like, yeah. So I mean, but you can also put him far enough away that you could keep your voice lowered and he won't hear you. I mean, that's fine.
I mean, I basically want to know what Domi would say about it.
Sure, that's fine.
Before we ask this guy about,
that's fine.
Interrogate him.
That's
and stuff.
fine.
And I think River would also just like say this to Inga and stuff before, like on their way back.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sorry, something is beeping. I'll be right back.
That's fine. This fine. Yeah, let me talk up to you actually, because just a couple of minutes before Inga and River arrive back, I do want to mention to Tani and Bolo that you see this door, open, obviously. And I want to make 2 notes about this. The first is that, Tani, both you and Bolo, without having any special knowledge or anything like that, can sense the age on this place. First of all, it has obviously been a very long time since this door has been opened. And the and the air and so on from inside is extremely dry and musty, and that's, I shouldn't say musty because that wouldn't be dry. It's extremely dry, and there's just a great deal of dust and so on that you can kind of sense in the air around it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, Bolo, you have a sort of a general, there's a sort of general unease, I would say, which is mixed with also a level of excitement because of what you know of the inside of some of these dwarven mausoleums and tombs, right? I mean, it was obviously no less a figure than, Bilbo himself, who told you stories of barrow wights in which it was rumored there were great treasures that to be had within the sort of bowels of this place. And so for the first time since you're having been with a party, you're in a place where, no, for real, there's big treasures that could be had here. But of course, as we all know, you're also miserable while underground, and this is most definitively underground. So those are things that are kind of, I don't know what is
with mixed feelings that I look at this entrance to the tomb. Yeah.
Yep.
Is Domi nearby?
Yes, Domi is actually standing kind of looking over his shoulder, and he's kind of like, all right then, the time's come. Come join me, my friends. And he kind of is like,
Domi, you meant, I didn't hear everything that you said, but you mentioned that what we might find here could quell the looming hostilities between dwarves and men. Is that, do I have that right?
He says, aye, that's true. It sort of depends, I suppose, though, on what exactly is going to happen at the end of all of this. There's some question as to who owns what, you might say. And, well, there's rumors about this place, now that we found it, that what we find here could be something that might trace back to some of the ancient days. You see those seals there? And he points up at what used to be, not tentacled seals, but actual seals. He points up at the broken wax seals.
No,
He says,
the tentacle seals are in Moria.
That's true. Well, yeah, oh man, that's true. Those are the deepest, darkest things.
I shall post that somewhere, that image, so that I can link it in the Discord.
That's a good idea.
I feel like every time Tari makes a dark eldritch thing cute, we should all lose a shadow point. Just
in
that
case, let me grab my sketchbook.
So he says, so do you see the seals here? And he points up at those kind of broken seals up there.
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "These are almost certainly from the rule of Jirian himself, and that means that this is a tomb which is probably not dwarven in nature, or at least not wholly so, but actually was put together maybe as a combination of dwarves and mortal men. That means that there might be mortals themselves might have been interred here, men, and if that's true, then the men of Dale may have some claim to this. On the other hand, the dwarves themselves did some of this work. You can tell by how easily the door opened, none of that getting warped over time nonsense that some of the mortal men like to indulge in, and so that might mean that the dwarves are involved too. In other words, it's a mixed bag, I'd say."
So, and this warrants, desanctifying graves, or what's
Well,
happening?
so you're still not there. You are
Oh.
walking up. You're going to be there in about 30 seconds, so fear not. This is just the early stage with Tawny and with Bolo.
Oh, okay.
So I ask him, do you know what it is specifically? Do you know what we're after?
And he says, yes, but before I talk about it, I'd rather we see it for ourselves. You see, you might have noticed that there's been some disagreement, as I said, between who owns what. And my experience has been that any time I've revealed any of it to anybody, they've immediately jumped to conclusions. I've lived a long time, you see, Bolo. Almost 3 centuries I've been living here. And in that time I've seen that people are wont to hear what they want to hear before it's right for them to hear it. It's an heirloom, if I'm right. But what the nature of the heirloom is, well, that I'd rather we see for ourselves.
Well, fair enough, but you know what we're looking for, at least.
Yes, I do. And I'm
All right.
sure it's within here. I can sense it from here. Let's be off. And he sort of looks like ready to go. And you can, as you look up, Tawny, because you can, well, I guess Bolo, depending on where you are, you can like look and see that the river and Inga are now in sight, holding something between them that occasionally seems to bang against the ground as they walk with it.
Tawny's busy.
Okay. What is Tawny doing then? I was going to ask that.
Tawny is getting very handsy with Bolo as he is healing him.
Yes. Okay. So
It's like patting him over the head. They're there.
Wait, patting him? I had to get like smacked in the shoulder over it, or smacked in the wound to heal it, for that matter. He's just like gently leading Bolo.
He's much smaller than you are.
Yeah, like River can't be mistaken for a human child, I believe.
Right.
Bolo, on the other hand.
So like the river arrives and he's using like a silk handkerchief to just gently, and like the river's like
Here and there.
River,
Bolo looks like a chubby Baroque cherub. So.
She takes out her frustration on the gum, just smacking his head against the rock.
honestly,
This is
like
how
I
it felt
totally,
when I was healed.
yeah, I'm playing fast and loose with like timing for comedy's sake here, absolutely. But I can absolutely imagine a scenario of just like ribbing Tawny by being like, I mean, look, I know that you and Bolo have your differences, but you really shouldn't be holding back as you heal him, I mean, you should really be doing the most effective thing possible, shouldn't you? And stuff.
Hey.
Just in teasing.
I can imagine Bolo being like, yeah, that's slightly chafing. If you could just do that, something like this. It's kind of a little irritating to my skin.
Can you add a chamomile again like you did last time? For the
more the river keeps just railing on Tawny about it, he keeps tightening the bandages more and more. And Bolo's like, okay, sorry.
Oh man.
Yep.
Okay. Right, exactly. River smacking the goblin with a stick, yelling, "Be healed! Why isn't it working? Why aren't you healing?" Oh man. Okay. So Bolo, you can see kind of that, and so I guess Tawny, because he's busy healing Bolo, doesn't notice this, but Bolo, you can see that Domi looks ready to just like march right off into the mausoleum, like just he's ready to go. And he will go if you don't stop him, which is up to you, but he's going to walk in that direction if you don't go like, hey, wait a second. but it's up to you if you want to do that. Since Tani's not paying attention, and River and Inga are not quite there.
Can we see this? Though,
Not yet.
from where
No, because he's below. Okay. Remember, he's dead. The stairs are below the level of the land.
The other dwarves are where?
The other dwarves are basically near the top of the stairs, I should say. And they are pretty excited to enter also. I'm going to leave them, just because I don't want the map to get crowded, I'm going to leave them off for now. But there's 3 dwarves basically up around here or so.
Yeah, I do call it.
So dramatic. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
That's 26 points to you, Bolo.
Oh, perfectly healed then.
More important thing was the poison, which I think you healed?
That is now passed. The poison has now passed. Yeah, it was not.
Okay.
It was not a deadly poison. Yes.
Yeah, I was only down 10.
Yep.
Poison? The poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison.
Oh God.
I call it Domi.
Okay.
See, just one moment. We're the party's not here yet. Let's all go together.
All right. All right. Well, where are they? And he seems like very eager, as you might expect.
Is he hopping?
Where
from
are
Yes,
the
he
people who
he literally is hopping. In fact, when he went down the stairs, and this is a very old dwarf, but he honestly looked like he was a sprightly dwarf of 75, just hopping down the stairs and everything to get there. So yes, he seems quite transformed by this experience. At which point now, Inga and the River, I think you're close enough that you can see the dwarves, and you can see Cliff and Lillimon at the top of the stairs. Cliff and Lillimon seem to be backing away, and we've already talked about the thing that you then say to Cliff afterwards. So you're now to the top of the stairs, and I'd say you can see down below what I've described before, these stairs which have this ash, much of which has been swept away, and the open doors at the bottom of the stairs, and Domi looking extremely eager, and Tani gently healing Bolo with a silk handkerchief.
No, that's done. Tani now has another poultice on his hand, and he is charging full force towards. No, he's not.
Up the stairs.
Towards her, she still could be healed.
He is going to heal you both before he goes down there, but
it just uppercuts you into next week.
He's
with
just
heal.
Building up a lot of momentum to really get it in there.
That's a chiropractic thing of like knack.
Yeah, no, exactly. I felt like it was deep tissue massage we were talking about. Like, ugh.
Putting more pressure into the pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
As River and Inga are approaching and stuff, she'll call out and say, "Bolo, we brought someone to apologize to you."
And you look up, you see it's like,
I thought he was gone for sure. One of you is fast.
He will be. I imagine they're muzzling him, is just filling his mouth with rocks and then tying it shut like Marley's, kind of thing.
So we need to talk about shadow points for a party that is attempting to be somewhat vaguely on the good side of morality. No, but anyway.
So, Inga, basically just tosses him into the dirt. And he probably tries to crawl away, and she just put the foot on his back.
No, he does no such thing. He lies there and just lies
but
there
it's
sullenly.
funnier that way.
You could still put a foot on his neck, though. That is totally fine. But
on his back, not on his neck.
Oh, on his back. Okay, on his back.
Just so that he doesn't crawl away. No, so she doesn't do that.
Okay.
It's like, so, I assume you are Domi?
I am. And he sort of looks, I can see, I think I've heard of you. You must be Inga, if I'm not mistaken.
That would be me.
Also,
for reference, by now, since Inga became a clan chief, she got, replaced her cloak pin, which is now a golden key, actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I was wondering about that. Okay, so yeah, he says, well, I'm most grateful to you, and I'm most grateful to all of you for having rescued us and made it possible for us to finish this. I thought when these people brought us here, we might get a chance to open the place up, but never see what was inside. Bunch of treasure-robbing grave robbers. Anyway, I'm glad that you did this, especially you, Inga, because, well, what happens here is going to have an effect on all of us. In fact, all of you, as I'm pretty sure you're heroes of Dale. I was told about you before I set out. You'll all have a lot to say about this. what I find here could have major effects on how the world is going to unfold in this region, how things are going to unfold in this region of the world.
River nods to this. Oh, sorry. No, River nods and gestures towards the bound-up goblin. She says, "We brought this one back not only to apologize, but because I wanted to know why they captured you. It seems like it was far too organized an operation for it to be simple grave robbing. It seemed like there might be interests and powers behind this. So,
Also, and banding up with orcs, that is not something you see every day.
These were no ordinary bandit men either. The way that they fought, they were very consistent in the way that they fought, and that consistency was an explosive, brutal rage that I have not seen among bandit men before. So I feel like there might be something more going on here. And I thought, before we go any further, just to ask this one about it.
And he says, "Aye, we noticed the same thing when we were fighting them. They weren't any ordinary bandits or cutthroats. There was something more about them. And the one that led them there, that one," and he kind of nods towards the goblin. He says, "He seemed to be the one who had all the information. At least they listened to him, and that ain't always the way it is. Although I should say that when those other ones that you dealt with, those hobgoblins, came, I don't think they were part of the same group. We couldn't hear all the details, but they were arguing with each other. They came later on, and I think it's possible they just found it and decided they wanted some of the gold and treasure they thought was here. From what I could tell, the goblin here was kind of negotiating with him. The only thing I know for sure was his name, and it was Furball. That's how they all referred to him. Other than that, I can say only that he was by far the worst of the lot. He never did anything to us himself, but everything that happened to us was under his orders. But as to what he'll tell you, I don't know. He also seemed to be anxious about time, about making sure they didn't take too long. I don't know why that is either."
Well, Furball?
Yeah, Inge pulls him up and with a collar.
Yeah, before we end... Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, she when River starts to talk to him, she pulls him up at the collar to make him sit up, and then pulls down his muzzle.
You are obviously not among friends here, and you have obviously done grievous harm to everyone here. So I would recommend making yourself useful to us and telling us why you even set out on this journey at all. In fact, tell us everything. And, don't take your time.
And he kind of reaches up to the back of his head where he's been repeatedly bashed into the ground, and while he was unconscious, and is like, "You were gonna just kill me. You could have done that instead of just..." And he's, kind of feeling the back of his head and says, You've already got all the answers you said you need." And that's, sorry, he doesn't use a British accent. "You've already got all the answers you need. You've killed my men and me, and killed my men and almost me. You've got your precious tomb open. There shouldn't be anything else you need. That's it."
Well, that's something I need.
What?
Have you happened to come past a pond in recent days?
A pond?
Met somebody there?
There were several pools and ponds. We didn't stop for much. We were just making our way quickly.
Well, one where you might have met a dwarf and a human, maybe?
And his eyes kind of narrow a little bit, and he says, "Only dwarf and human I've seen, besides you, and that one," and kind of jerks his head in the direction of the river, "is a few days ago when my group encountered him and, like, you know, the top, because he's close to the top of the stairs here, so he points at, you know, Clifford, and them, and then looks down at the Domi and at the bottom of the stairs, and he says, "That's the only human and dwarves we've seen, but other than that, there weren't anything by a pool."
He looks at Domi when he says that. Does he speak the truth?
And Domi says, "Well, I don't remember anything about a pool, but there were many times when they went off on their own, and we were just left with some guards around us. They didn't always bring us everywhere that they went, and sometimes we went blindfolded too. In fact, for part of the time, they brought us blindfold until we got, I don't know, perhaps a league or two from here. Then they took the blindfolds off and let us start using our knowledge of the area to find where we had to go. So I couldn't say one way or the other."
Does the name Ranner mean anything to either of you? And she also looked at the other two dwarves. It was 2, right?
It was 3, actually.
Yeah,
3 plus
there were
him.
4 in total.
Oh, okay, yeah, the other 3 dwarves then.
And so the dwarves kind of think about it, and then one of them says, well, there's a Renner who's stonemason, I think. Renner stonemason, right? And the other one says, yeah, I've heard of him. Why do you ask?
So you don't know what happened to him? You haven't met him recently?
No, has anything happened to him?
Remember the pond I mentioned just now?
They nod.
We found his remains at that pool.
And the dwarves sort of fall silent. A couple of them stroke their beards and kind of shake their head. And Domi says from the bottom of the stairs, "It's a bad business. A bad business all the way around. Are you responsible?" And he kind of takes a couple steps up and he says, "Are you responsible, you green rat?" And he kind of looks at the goblin, at Furball. And Furball says, shakes his head again and says, "I've already told you no. I don't know what this dwarf and pool you're talking about are. We weren't looking for pools. We were looking for this, and we found it."
Right,
Can
why
I get a
were you
vibe check on that dude? Like, do I get
You
the
can do an insight
feeling
check if
that
you
he... Yeah.
Yeah, I also
Absolutely.
want
The
to do
vibe
an
check
insight
is...
You could
Should just
absolutely
officially
do
rename inside checks to vibe checks.
vibe check.
So
Oh, that's
Got
a
an-
squirrel.
I got an 18.
Okay. So Inga, he just seems to be like kind of, these creatures are so hard to know what is actually true and false with them regardless. And you find it very frustrating about them is that they often, say much less than they mean. For your part, River, you think probably that it's probably true as far as it goes, but it's obviously quite incomplete as a truth. But doesn't seem like a blatant lie.
River says to him, in response to him having said, that you killed our men and stuff. No, actually, she'll let that pass. It's quite obvious that they killed each other. But he watched it. So she says, "I want you to tell us why you were looking for this place and who sent you to do it."
And so he says, he kind of looks at you, and then he says, "The minute I tell you, you're going to kill me anyway. That's how you all operate, all of you lordlings. So why should I bother? You might as well just kill me now and get it over with."
First of all, I'm not a lordling. I am called the River, and I am of a small community where we don't have lords. But that aside, we could have killed you, but we don't see the need to necessarily. What would you like to have happen here after you tell us what you're going to tell us?
And he kind of well, if you were just to perhaps have a certain understanding, then what I'd like most is for you to, if I gave you some of this information, or most of it that I know, if you were able to let me go on my way, then there might be something I could do. For one thing, I don't expect it, because you all want to kill me. I know how you feel about orcs and goblins. I've been told enough times, and I've seen it happen myself, but if you were to let me go, I'd give you the information that I had. And I could tell you at least a little bit about the news that we had gotten of this place.
Well, it's up to you to persuade us, I think. You keep using these qualifiers. You keep saying most of what you know and so on. I want you to tell us everything that you know. And once we hear that, we will determine whether or not to let you go, or whether or not to keep you imprisoned among us, or perhaps to kill you in restitution for all the harm that you have done and for all the people who you have killed. How many was your party, Domi, when you set out?
Domi says, we had, I believe, there were 8 of us in all, not counting Cliff, of course. Clifford, 8 dwarves. Now only 4 of us, well, 3 plus me, remain.
Inga spits on the floor as she says that, like in absolute disgust.
Yeah. Yes. It's nothing to do with hatred of orcs and goblins that has brought us to this place. It's been your actions. And don't try to say otherwise. So now, tell us what you know.
And so he pauses for a second, and he says, and he kind of looks around, and he looks up at Inga, and then kind of lowers his eyes, and he said, some news came to us in the north that there were some, well, treasures to be had. Treasures in the waste. At this point, there's been enough back and forth between my people and yours, and he kind of looks at you, Inga, to know that it's hard to say whose belongs to whom. Well, we heard that there was a place where some of this treasure could be found, and all we needed to do was track down someone who would know it. Well...
So you kill people and intend to commit grave robbery. Great plan!
My people have a saying. If you're going to make rat stew, a few rats are occasionally going to die to make it. It wasn't our intent. It didn't mean that it wasn't
She
what we...
just punches him in the head before he can finish his sentence.
And
I
falls
would be
unconscious.
very careful with the following.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a lot to begin with, so you just he's like immediately.
Inga.
And Domi kind of chuckles and says, well, it was good to see that, although I don't think he's going to tell you anything like that right now. Because he's just lying there.
Well, he will wake up eventually. And with that, I'll be excusing myself for 2 minutes.
Tongue lolling out.
Yeah, everyone's like, walk it off, Inga.
Yeah, walk it off. Actually, while she's doing that, I told you that my daughter's room is that they finished the windows and they need to show me something. So I just need to go downstairs for like 2 minutes. While I'm doing that, though, I encourage Bolo and Tani in the river to talk about what it is that they're seeing or something like that. I will be, or you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I'll be right back, and then we can continue. The window people will leave. So I'll be right back.
Awesome.
41 points of healing to the river.
Hey! I'm going to, I think, probably share that with Stone because River needs 18 to be up to max. And I think Stone needed healing also. So we'll just tell Arv because he is in charge of the hit points for Stone.
Is that by like laying hands or poultices or potions or what? All the above?
Yep.
I'm totally imagining that, like, while River has been talking, Tawny's just been like walking around her going ka-thunk, or and she's like, as I was saying, right? Yes, thank you, Tawny. Stuff.
I'll put the thing into chat so you can read it. Specifically, it's the second paragraph where it says if you can touch a creature, you may expend 1 healing die, blah, 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 blah. If instead you tend the creature for at least 10 minutes. So that's what he's doing. It's like an extra thing. Because normally well, in my case, it's a 2d8 because I have improved healing. So it's 2d8 instead of 1d8. But if I spend 10 minutes, it's 2d8 times 3 plus my 5 points of my healing modifier or my wisdom modifier.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
Right, so Bolo's kind of he knows he has to go in this place, but he's like walking back and forth in front of the entrance, kind of like tapping himself up, like, you can do this, Bolo. He's taking deep breaths.
36 points of healing to Inga.
Hey.
Am I even missing that many hit points?
I don't know.
Wait, 36? I'm really bad.
I'm gonna replenish my tea as well.
It's 2d6 no matter whether he spends one healing die or not. So
wait, how much was it?
It's 36 points. The same amount that Bolo got.
Yeah, I'm at like super full health.
Okay, good.
So I would be at 83 hit points right now, but I only have maximum 36.
So you're fine.
Though upon
You have 30?
reworking my character sheet the last week, I found
How
out
many hit points
that
do you
I'm
have?
apparently missing hit points that I forgot to add on level ups, and I'm not sure when I forgot that and when I didn't. So, rip.
Were you saying,
What is,
Raz?
what is your hit point max, Inga?
66.
66. Oh, okay. I heard 36. I'm like, whoa.
It would be. Wait, which level are we? It would actually be 72. 72? 74 is what it should
Do
be.
we recall, well, either of you, was there like, I know we're in this depression and stuff, but beyond that,
Yeah, we are.
is there like, oh, I don't know. I mean, we just finished a pretty good battle. I mean, maybe I'm in a depression, but I don't know about you guys.
Well, who's
Wow.
been like carrying around all these shadow points and has like
No, that's
lasting
true.
trauma of losing her husband? So,
The way I've been imagining it whenever he describes it and seeing how the mechanics work is that I almost picture it like a meteorite impact crater that's just this depression that's why it's not big enough to be like a valley, but it's how I imagine it. And like the tomb that they're digging out is kind of in the side of the crater, which is why we can still get higher to look over the edge of the crater and be able to see. That's how I imagine it.
Yeah.
just yesterday, I learned the old German word for places like this. I don't think we have one in modern German, but like it's Kull, apparently, like Kull. Because we have like this one place that we always drive by called Wolfskull, which, if you would read it in English, is literally spelled as wolf's skull. And I was like, okay, what the fuck does this actually mean? Because it probably doesn't mean skull, because that isn't a word in any of the languages over here. So yeah, no. So,
I'm
apparently an anti-hill.
I have spent my tea replenishing time imagining a comic that I want to request Inga make. Inga?
Oh, Inga is supposed to draw that one. Okay.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Sorry. No, I was just imagining like panel 1, River staring sternly out of the frame, saying, "Right, you're going to tell us everything," and then like a kind of like smack wince happens, and like another smack wince happens in another panel, and like interrupting her kind of grim stern speech every time, and then at the end she just turns and says, "Tawny, I'm trying to interrogate someone." Like, meanwhile he's just like, "That's 12 hit points here, that's 14 hit points here," and stuff like this.
Stop smacking.
Off screen, you just see the bubble with like 12 hit points.
Yeah, exactly.
Distracting background gags are some of my favorites, to be honest. In like mediums like this, where it's always like you have like the main plot happening in the foreground, but like in the background you see like some background character doing some other shit that's completely unrelated. Like at some point, it's just, God damn it, could you not?
Why were you guys digging out this tomb? And Tawny's shearing a sheep in the background. What are you doing?
You get a sheep.
Gosh.
Hello, I'm the shepherd.
So actually, while the guy's knocked out, we can happily proceed with this. That River is actually going to like look at the other members of the party and say, No, it's a fair point that I don't know whether we should consider releasing him to the mercy of the waste by himself, or burden ourselves with him to bring him back as a prisoner, or entrust him to the dwarves, for that matter. What
He'd
do you
likely
think?
find his way back to the men who fled.
They didn't.
Like Inga like makes sure that he's really out. No, actually, Inga says nothing. She just looks grim.
I don't know. So River is like soliciting opinions on this, actually.
Whether or not to bring him with us.
Sorry?
Whether or not to bring him with us.
Whether or not to bring him with us. Whether I have no stomach for killing someone who is surrendered to us. That's something that does not sit well with me.
He
no
did
matter.
not surrender. I captured him.
It's the same difference. He's in our mercy, is what I mean. He's not presently attacking us and is at our mercy.
Yeah, I am woefully short of mercy lately, so...
Would you would you kill a bound goblin, or are you thinking of releasing him and shooting an arrow into his back as he runs?
That would be a waste of an arrow.
I have no stomach for it. But, you know, obviously the people who he has most harmed here are the dwarves, and I keep thinking that remanding him to your custody means also just, you know, accepting your idea of justice here. But I do want to know what he knows, whatever we decide on. I do want to know. The thing is, first,
there won't be any justice here, no matter what we do. All we can do is make sure that he doesn't cause any additional harm.
To that point, I'm worried about letting him go in case he does regroup with his men and perhaps even returns and traps us in this place or attacks. And I'm worried about bringing him with us for the burden he'll present. So what about a third option? Tying him up for the time being, leaving him with Cliff, and going and finding what we can find and returning, and we can decide then.
Oh, I absolutely think that whatever decision that we make about him should be after we have investigated what's inside. But I feel like there's so much more at work here than we can just plainly see. I feel like this must be connected to other powers that are massing around Dale, for instance. We still feel like there has been some conspiracy at work there that we haven't managed to uncover, and this seems like it could well be part of that. And I don't know.
I honestly don't think that orcs or goblins or whatnots can be that well organized.
Well, they might be tools.
No, but they might be tools. Exactly.
Of who or what exactly?
That's what I'd like to find out. I do not believe for one moment that this goblin alone got wind through some, you know, haphazard means of there being treasure here. It wouldn't surprise me if that was whispered in his ear, or if he was manipulated by other people to be doing this, or if he's simply in the pay of someone. But I want to know, and I want to make sure that he tells us everything he knows.
In that case, as much as it pains me to say, but we should probably leave him alive and bring him back to the Erebor, where he can be put into the more learned hands of questioning.
I think that makes sense.
Ugh, we're gonna have goblin stench with us on the entire way back home. And Inga spits on the floor again.
Might want to save your moisture, though I do sympathize with the impulse. Anyway, I totally think that we should declare this a short rest while Arv isn't here. Let's just say that the dwarves have agreed that we get to take a short rest together and replenish all our stuff.
Oh wow, I'm at full hit die, so yeah, but
Yeah,
do I
but
actually get anything through a short rest? I don't think I do.
Yeah, you do. You get replenishing of Gleam of Terror. Wait, do you not?
No, that's a long rest.
No. Flame of Hope is long rest. Gleam of Terror.
I have Flame of Hope, not Gleam of Terror.
Oh man, I always forget this. Okay, never mind. I am the one with Gleam of Terror. We both have Flame of Hope. That's what it is. And I think we have both used it. So we both.
Yeah,
know.
I did. I used mine when we were fighting the orcs at the burning tree.
Oh wait, no, I haven't used mine. Never mind. I still have mine to use.
But yeah, I used this in the hopes that it might help keep Clifford alive.
Righto.
Yes.
You can only take long rests at sanctuaries.
Or
Talking to
in known lands.
Right.
Or in
Once,
Norman,
like in any of my known lands, we can get one long rest. Alas, the way.
Hey, Arv! Great news! Great news! In the time that you were away, we were able to take a short rest and have replenished a whole bunch of traits and qualities.
And we were all elevated to Valar.
Yep.
Wow. You know, it's
That too.
amazing what happens in these things where I'm away for a few minutes. How much players just make great things happen to them. It's
Why would you tell us to talk if you didn't want us to figure things out? We did.
Wait. If we are all Valar now, what are we the Valar of?
Ooh, great question.
of delusion.
I mean, there already is like it was Aule, right? Who's like the Valar of like the Earth or the stone,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So like Inga can't be that, but she could be the Valar of. Oh wait, like her clan name is Homefinder, so she could. She is the Valar of the Earth.
There you go.
Oh my God!
Aaron
that
says
is
you've
so
opened this as a sanctuary. Now it's a long rest. Yeah, clearly this mausoleum is a sanctuary now.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, exactly, Rudenell. It's aspirational role play. That's exactly my favorite thing that Amel brought up. So my apologies. I was just making sure that I have lovely new windows in my daughter's room. And I was like, oh, and this looks great with the. He's like, wait, the caulking. So I was like, derp. So like one finger of mine went into one little part of the caulking. It's fine. It's just caught. Like I just washed it off. But it was one of those things where I'm like, yeah, that's not dry yet. He's like, no, it's 24 hours. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. He's like, no, it's fine. Anyway, but
It's great when you go to inspect someone's work and muck it up. It's
yeah,
just
it really
the
was
worst
just
thing.
like, oh, but no, they did a good job. And so now, my daughter has good windows finally, and she will not be joined in the summer by many, many ladybugs that got through gaps in the windows before.
Oh, that's adorable.
She likes Lord Ladybugs, but this was ridiculous. Like, this was far too many. So.
On the plus side, her room was probably totally free of aphids.
Yes, that is quite true. Although, yes.
What's an aphid? How do you spell that?
APHID. It's the larval. I think it's larval. It's a
Oh,
bug.
Blackloise. Like we literally call them leaf flies.
Yeah. So
Yay! All
ladybugs
the
eat
literal
them.
things.
Exactly.
Or rather, ladybug larvae eat them. Is the crucial thing. And ladybug larvae look super weird and nothing like the actual ladybug.
I don't want to look those up, but I'm also curious.
You should, because the thing is that I accidentally killed some of them going, what's this horrible bug on my plants? And before I realized, no, it was a ladybug larva that is eating the aphids, which are bad. But
like the problem is I have like a thing about like creepy crawlies, like especially about anything like vaguely larvae-ish.
They just needed to have a sign saying "ladybugs at work," and then it would have been fine.
yeah, exactly.
So, my apologies. Let's get back into
no,
this.
why
folks.
did I look that up?
Yes, because they don't do that. All right, so let's get back into this. My apologies. So, yes. So, we were down at the door, blah 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 blah, talking to the goblin, and the goblin was trying to convince you. Yes, I'm all here. We're fine now. Thanks. How are you? So Furball says, so.
Wait, he's still out, isn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. You knocked him out after you punched him in the
But
head.
so River is just going to like. So after she says like, Inga, just take a minute, walk it off. River is going to go up to him and just kind of go schmack schmack, wake up.
And spits out a little bit of blood and yeah. See, I told you. I knew it was gonna happen. Can't trust them. They'll just punch. And you kind of.
If you would confine
Don't
yourself
call my
to
people
the
rats anymore,
Yeah,
and then
I
we won't
wasn't
be
saying
punched in the
they
head
were
anymore.
rats.
So, confine yourself to the subject at hand.
So, we found these ones passing through the wilderness, and we interrogated them, and they told us where to find what we needed, and we had them lead us there. And we found this place, and we opened it up for you, as it happens.
Why would you blindfold them through part of the journey?
We didn't want them finding out where we lived and send people back to rout out my people from the places we live. We have some memory in the north of what it was like back then.
Interesting. And who is paying for the cutthroats and hobgoblins who were part of your group?
We came to an arrangement. The chieftains and them came to an arrangement about working together to get some common treasure. Those lads were from down south. They made their way up. After the Battle of Five Armies, they came farther north, and there were some of them that settled not far from Gundabad. We do some work with them sometimes.
Interesting. Was there...
So, like, just to reiterate, Gundabad was where we were imprisoned while we were captured in a dream, right? Or where was that?
Erebor.
No, yeah, it's Barad-dûr.
Barad-dûr. Oh, okay, never mind.
Oh. So I don't know how, so River is very, keen on figuring out whether he is holding something back specifically on the subject of, who sent them and...
Okay, make an insight check for me, please.
Yeah.
No, we were in Dol-Guldur. That's where we were. Right? Yeah.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Wait. Yeah, we were in Dol-Guldur, right?
You were in, not Barad-dûr. You were in Dol Guldur, which is the tower of the
Yeah.
Necromancer, in Mirkwood. In your dream, that is.
That's a 15.
Because as we know, it was a dream. Again, River, the feeling that you get from this is that this information is accurate as far as it goes, but it doesn't go as far as it could, theoretically. It's incomplete, but it is not a lie directly.
My difficulty here, Furball, is that I can tell that you are withholding information that I want. And if you are not going to give us the information that we need, then you are not exactly persuading us to... are you going to actually be more used to us alive than not, essentially?
And
It's a hard case right now.
And he kind of says, as to that, I can give you information that you might need about others who might come. Those boys we were dealing with back there, the larger ones, the hobgoblins, well, there ain't all of them out here. There's a whole group, a whole tribe, and they might head our way. From what I understand,
How many?
50 of them maybe. At least that's the way
50?
they were talking. And they aren't all that far. Now, they didn't know exactly where these 50, the others of them were. That is to say, they were a scouting troop ahead of them. I don't know how much longer it's going to take for the others to get here. But that's why I wanted them to be, my lads, to hurry up. I didn't want to be dealing with more of them coming down the line. So, if you don't want to be, not that you can't handle yourself, but if you don't want to be dealing with more of them, 40, 50 of them, you might want to get your business done and out of here. Now see, not everyone would give you that information, but I did.
Well, that was some good information, and you have therefore earned yourself at least a few more hours to live. And she muzzles him again and makes sure all of his tying, all of the what are they called? Ties? All of his ties are proper and and then slings him on the back of no, not on the back of Lilliman. She would do that later, probably. But yeah, and then it's well, we have no time to lose. Domi, what are we looking for here?
And Domi says, indeed we do. I should tell you that what we're looking for may be really important, but It's... And he kind of gestures to you, Inga, to, like, come closer type of thing.
She does.
Okay, and he lowers his voice and he says, if I'm right, what we're going to find here, Thane Inga, is going to be, well, what's inside here may belong to both the dwarves and men. And before I start talking about what it actually is, I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. Or, and he kind of, his eyes look above to where the river specifically is standing, or fears up either. I'd rather we search it out ourselves and then make our decision based on the facts on the ground, not just on my guesses. I'm thinking that there's some kind of armor in here, but I don't know for sure. And again, this is all very quiet, that he says to you, Inga.
Like Inga nods and then takes a look at the door that they had opened. Like, does it look like it could be closed again?
Yes, it does. In fact, it looks surprisingly sort of smooth to open and close. Not locked, and it doesn't look like it's like warped in any way or anything like that. Clearly, the doors, at least, are dwarven work, although the seals are the seals of Jirian.
All right. I'm afraid I have not the greatest news for you, Clifford. We are all gonna go inside. You don't have to follow us like all the way inside, but we are all gonna go past this door.
And
because
so
if there's
like,
really...
Clifford's like, well, I was going to be a lookout, though. The river there said that I'd be a lookout, and I'm much better suited. I'm very, distant vision. I can see above things down below. You don't really need, you don't want, and who's going to watch after the ponies? I'm going to stay. I'll be here up there with the horse and the, yes, what?
The thing is, if there's really the possibility of 50 hobgoblins getting here,
but then you'll need someone to see them.
Sure.
No, you'll need someone to see them, and I'll run down and tell you about them as soon as I see them.
I can close the door from the inside and make it so that only I can open it.
So Clifford's eyes, when you say close the door, opens wide, and he's like, and then he just is like, doesn't even make a complete sentence. You can tell that he is very much not excited about the idea of having a door closed and him inside it.
River says, I think it makes a lot of sense to have a lookout for the goblins as they arrive.
What she said. Agreed.
We shouldn't waste any more time on this, but also, sorry, am I misunderstanding that Domi said that he would, outside of River's hearing, that, like, the dwarves should go in alone?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's what I understood.
No, I'm sorry if I made that clear. No. He wants the whole party to come, but his idea was he just didn't want to tell what it is he suspects is in there until he actually sees it for himself.
Yeah.
But no, he wants the whole party to come. He's happy to leave Clifford outside. He doesn't care about Clifford one or the other. If he wants to stay outside, that's fine.
What I don't want is the possibility of us trapping ourselves in a tomb in the wastes, besieged by 30 to 50 feral hobgoblins.
Actually, Lore Master makes a note. That actually sounds pretty good.
No!
Wait. What does Inga know about the way these types of tombs are constructed? Like, is there usually more than one entrance, or like anything even about secret entrances and exits?
That is very hard to say. Sometimes these do have exits elsewhere, but oftentimes they were purposely designed not to have multiple entrances and exits because of the fear of incursion by goblin or orc. And they didn't want basically ways that it would make it easier for tunnels to invade. And so that's sort of, that's the deal with that.
Also, we can't tell from the outside how big it is, right?
Correct. That's right.
Yeah. Like you said, there are seals on the door, right?
But they are now broken, but yes, they were so dry that they broke with ease.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like literal seals? Okay, no.
Yep.
No. Is there also like any inscriptions or anything?
Yeah, there are a few inscriptions that have these, the sort of sigils that I mentioned, which were also the seals on the outside. And then there were a couple of inscriptions, although it looks more like probably decorative than actual language, Inga, from what you can tell. but it might be a little familiar to you. Make a lore check for me, please.
Do I get a bonus because of my what's it called? I have like stone cunning. Because of the thing. Whenever you make an intelligence history ability check.
Yes, let us say yes.
Okay, so do I make history?
It is a yes. It is a history. It is a history check or lore check in this case. But yeah.
Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah, same deal.
Arver, I'm gonna throw something into the chat here.
Okay.
So
I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to use this again. So
okay.
I want to use that.
For fuck's sake. Yeah, that's 5.
You're like,
Yep.
definitely this is stone. I've seen it, and there's stone involved with this. And stone kind of looks at you. No, not even that stone. Real stone. Actual stone. So
I can't get a
interesting.
The way I picture what Bolo has been doing over the years is like sort of digging into texts and stories, talking to people on his travels here and there about the thing that Bilbo told him about. And so I'm curious, like, specifically about the nature of the place, the dangers involved, and maybe any kind of connection to the human dwarf relations that I might be able to pick up on.
And this, by the way, Chad, in case you're curious, is treasure lore, which is a particular ability of the treasure hunter, which Bolo is. Yes, I think you can know a little bit about this. So give me those specifics again. What dangers they may be. What else?
So the nature of this place, why it might have been created, the dangers that might be involved in heading into this place, if any, and what relation it might have to like human dwarf relations.
So, nature of the place, a tomb or mausoleum, and there were. You're familiar, of course, Bolo, with the barrows, which are near the lands of the old forest and so forth, not that far from the Shire. And this too is a place where many were buried. But this, of course, the places buried here is a mixture of both men and dwarves, and even an occasional elvish tomb, which was connected with the dwarves that you might find. This, based upon the fact that it's dealing with Jirian and all that stuff, and the fact that it has these seals, most of Jirian's descendants, of course, are, buried in or around Dale, but not all of them. There was a time when Dale itself and its reach extended far beyond where it does now. And so there were definitely tombs that were constructed at that time. If you had to guess, now you're going to need to know and see when you go inside it, but based on what you know, your guess is that this is probably a mausoleum with some noble or royal ties. And if that's true, when you go inside further, you might be able to confirm more information, because if it is related to Jirian, you did indeed hear of certain treasures that were associated with that. As far as dangers are concerned, most of these, were not designed, from your understanding, to have exits to the outside besides the one that you went in. There can always be things over many decades and sometimes, even centuries, but over many decades, other things can tunnel in that weren't meant to be there, theoretically. But these things were built to try to protect against that. So it's underground and it's a mausoleum and all that. But at least at the moment, the likelihood of there being other kind of dangers seems not probably that likely, especially because these seals on these doors have remained unbroken. So it doesn't seem likely that someone came through and found a way and undercut it and broke through the door or whatever. That just doesn't seem like a likely possibility. The only dangers that might be in here are the dangers one brings with themselves, one might say. But that's what you know. But again, the last bit of information about whether to confirm your suspicions, keep that in the back of your mind and ask me at some point when we get to, you'll know when there might be options for this, and I'll be able to tell you, yeah, this definitely is blah.
Okay.
And that's a good use of treasure lore, by the way. That's exactly what that's for. Okay. As I said, Inga's like stone. So this is what we see about that. Other than that, Domi says, all right, then, let's be about it. And The other dwarves sort of gather around him, and Domi looks back and he says, "I suppose we'll need a torch for those of you who can't see."
That would be helpful, yes.
Okay. So one of
I might have torches in my inventory.
Yes.
I have torches, probably 3 or so left.
Okay.
Not more.
So you can bring a couple. I imagine a couple of you will
I
want to
have
carry
one
them.
torch left. Just
Oh,
one.
okay. So you've got one. Do you have any? The dwarves have one that they're able to bring forward.
Yeah, but we just need one in action. The question is, how long does one torch last?
Generally, it'll last, an hour or two.
Okay.
Depending on how long it takes you to explore this area or how big it is. 'Cause you don't know.
I do not seem to have one in my inventory, so this would be good.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, oh no, wait, never mind. The hobgoblins didn't have any. Oh, were we fighting the hobgoblins or the men? I don't remember.
We were fighting the men. The hobgoblins were dead. It did occur to me that I would quite like to loot the bodies if necessary, but that it hasn't really been time, so
yeah,
not super important.
Tani has several torches.
Oh, great.
Okay. Good stuff. All right.
We'll follow the dwarves, or I will anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess Inga would take point probably.
Okay. Go ahead and just
She's
position
the
your.
tank.
Yeah. Go ahead and position them. I assume behind Domi, but go ahead and position your tokens the way you want to be.
Well, Domi is a bit of a frail old man, right? So she would probably make sure that he stays behind her, right?
Domi is not interested in being behind you at all.
Domi has a scholar's thirst.
Exactly.
For this,
Domi
so.
is like, oh my god, first edition of whatever. Domi is ready. Do not get between an academic
Body
and
is
research.
ready.
Of this tomb? Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, this belongs in a museum. All right. So that's pretty much. So I've got.
Oh God.
Her in front. So I've got Inga in front. Then we've got Bolo. Is that where River and Stone are going to be in the back, and then Tawny in the middle, or what do we got?
I think one quick thing is that River. I think River would have noticed Bolo pacing up and down in front of the entrance and be sort of curious as to whether this is excitement or anxiety. So I think she would stick close to Bolo and kind of put a hand on his shoulder and say, Are you excited, Bolo? This is the first actual treasure that we are approaching ever since you joined us.
I'm eager. I just wish it was to be found in a different place.
I feel very much the same.
Well, generally there are few stories about treasures just lying around in wheat fields, are there? So
I don't know. I've heard some like that. It's more the waste
you?
itself, but
kind of treasure
I'm
would
literally
that be?
thinking of many a parable from the Christian Bible. It's oh yeah, there's a treasure in a field or whatever, and it's cool.
Yeah.
More of that, I say.
The great
Anyway.
wheat field horde of anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how you folks are looking. So Domi holding aloft one of the torches. The dwarves do have one torch themselves. So holding aloft a torch, he opens the door wider, and this is what you see. This
Your
area
doom!
is, you see your doom. You see Blagothkus. The inside joke with Tren and I. So you see what looks very much like a kind of vestibule, if you had to guess.
You had the vestibule?
Yeah, I see what you did there. Yes, it is. It is a vestibule, and it is a kind of a dark rectangular chamber, and there is a low and vaulted roof. And as Domi enters, and the rest of you follow, you can see that the walls are decorated with wonderful murals. They depict a Dalish lord holding court, apparently, over many noble-looking men and receiving homage from dwarves and sylvan elves. Certainly the work of a master craftsman. The art to be able to do work of this type is long since lost. But it is magnificent, almost spectacular. And on the corners of the wall, opposite the gate, there are two stone statues standing. And that's one of them is here. In fact, let me see if I can
But
put.
they're both standing there with a sword to their chest and like, stop in the name.
Name of love.
Yes, precisely. No. Let's see. I want to find the right. No, I don't want a gargoyle. No, I don't want a gargoyle. Everyone's like, gargoyle. I know you want a gargoyle. I'm like, I don't want a gargoyle. Okay.
You don't want a gargoyle.
Yeah, gargoyles seem pretty impractical indoors, to be honest.
Yeah, that's definitely not. Ah, perfect.
Whoa.
I'm
So-
not sure what I'm looking at.
Oh, there we go. I guess.
Just had to.
A very small statue.
Actually, no, a little larger than that.
Cream-colored blob.
Like that. So, yeah, that's exactly why I got it, because that way I don't have to be like, wait, but it doesn't actually. Okay, so there are 2 stone statues, and they portray armored men with folded arms like this and bowed head standing in front of them. And there are no openings visible on any of the walls. So the dwarves and Domi come in, and they start like, Domi looks around and starts like, oh, look, and perhaps over here, the Dalish, and he starts talking to the other dwarves, and one of them is like, aye, and then maybe in that side you could have had the other, and the other one says, I don't know if it does. No, I'm telling you to blah, 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 blah. So they're, back and forth as you are looking there. But that's all this appears to be right now is just this room.
So River is super enchanted by the murals. I think that
She's not. You're not even in there.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, we've all come in. Oh, I see what you're saying. We have not actually moved our tokens. I have no control over the tokens. I cannot actually...
What? Still? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
Sorry.
know why.
Can't grasp it.
It's a metaphor for how River is losing control over her life.
And Tawny is staying back near the door where he can pretty much see Clifford.
Yeah.
But
See if you
he's
can do it.
not proceeding in.
Got you. Okay. See if you can do that now, River.
Let's see. Hey, now I can do it.
And I think stone
Jesus,
as well. You
it's
should be able to.
gotten cold.
Can you control
Yes.
stone as well? Okay.
I can also control stone. So,
Okay.
I think that River is going to, whether or not this has any mechanical effect, River is like when they walk in, I think is going to feel a sort of slight relaxing of her shoulders purely by dint of not being in the waste in a visual way. Just being in a kind of something that feels like a dwelling is actually very comforting. But when she sees the murals that are like nothing she has seen before and that are like nothing she has any kind of context for either, except maybe Kilda's tapestries or her mother's needlework.
Right.
She's just going to be completely transfixed and in awe and like all of a sudden completely unconcerned about where they are or what they're doing or what danger is pressing down on them, because she just like, I'm assuming she's holding a torch that Tanya's gave her or something. I think she's just going to stand there and just look and look and look and feel like some aspect of her need to like tell stories or sing songs kind of kindling in the wake of that, and is just going to be, if nothing else, thinking, how can I put this into song so that other people can see it and experience it and share it in some way.
And Bolo, I would say also you feel the weight of this a little bit on you, and I was curious how you're reacting to this underground.
Yeah, Bolo's doing the same with the murals, but from the perspective of decoding in case there's a message to be picked up from them. Slash trying to fit in the history that I see before me with the history that I know.
One thing you know for sure, Bolo, from this as you're looking at it, is that this is the kind of thing that probably would be seen in tombs, mausoleums, and then therefore treasure chambers of royal condition. So that sort of confirms your suspicion, but it adds to it, saying that this is probably a royal tomb of some kind.
Okay.
Here in the waste.
I think
I will mention it. I'm kind of near River with the torch and stuff, and
Okay.
I will mention that.
this is I think like I think like River will hear what Bolo's saying, and she like nods and is genuinely like taking it in, but her eyes are also just welling up at the thought of like just the immensity of it and everything. Is there an obvious narrative in like that someone without the history necessarily would be able to glean from looking at it?
Because some of the pictures, they don't repeat, but they're the similar kind of images. What they do reflect is a sense of power and majesty on the part of the men, these Sylvan elves and dwarves bowing and doing homage to them. And also this sense of there's a kind of reflection of wistfulness, in the sense that you can see in some of the pictures, now that you're looking carefully, some of them have like someone sad. Like if you look at one element of it, like there's homage, blah, 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 blah. But then there's like one person looks sad in it. And in fact, as you look more and more, you begin to note, the River, that it appears to be the Lord in this case who is taking homage, always seems to have a sad expression on their face.
Oh man, River is going to like feel that quite deeply and stuff, and actually like kind of lift a hand almost as if to touch it, even though it's probably gigantic and stuff, but just big. Just kind of.
And you hear, "Have a care, lass," and he says, and you look over to see Domi, and he says, "I'm sorry, I meant no disrespect, but this place is. Don't touch anything if you don't have to, at least not on the murals. There's history in each one of them, if you follow what I mean."
I do. I'm sorry. I don't want to harm it in any way. It's just he looks so sad.
A tomb, no doubt, of one of his own. It doesn't surprise me, I think. Inga, what are you doing over on that far wall? I'm curious.
Inga is like basically walking up and down the wall in between the statues, and like basically investigating the wall for like something that could maybe be a door, like knocking against the stone and like feeling it out and stuff.
I'm going to ask you to make an investigation check. Furthermore, I'm going to give you advantage on that check because you are a dwarf, and this is dwarven construction. For all of the sort of paintings of men and all that, the murals of men, this is a dwarven make.
Also, she built stuff like this.
Of course, but I'm saying like you recognize dwarven construction when you see it.
Ooh,
Yep.
Nice.
Good stuff.
21.
That's
a good roll for once.
So you find actually in the middle, right here, you find that there are two areas, and there's a mural along the back as well, but there are two areas where almost, if you think about the Sistine Chapel ceiling for a minute, God reaching out to man, right, and then the fingers touching, you see two places where there is an elf reaching out to a dwarf, and they are holding hands, and a dwarf and an elf on the other side reaching out. I'm sorry, to take that back. Elf, dwarf, and then in the middle is a man, a lord. And the hand of the Lord is to the dwarf and to the elf. And where the hands meet, there is something which looks differently colored about literally the hands, like holding hands in those two spots. So they're close enough that you could touch or do something or manipulate one or both of those areas.
Like manipulate how, like something that I could press in, or
yes, maybe push or pull, but it looks like
I guess Inga tries that. She tries to push in that part that's like discolored.
Okay, go ahead, Bolo.
Oh no, I just said maybe twist.
Oh, twist. Okay.
Puppets.
So you do this, and Domi comes over with a smile and says, "Hi," because as you press these two areas, they slide in, shtunk, and then there's this, and the door slides inward. And you can see that there is a passageway that leads, it's a roughly hewn, really, tunnel that descends deeper into the ground. And beyond it, you see there's a larger chamber.
Well, Domi,
I am both excited and scared.
Yep.
Oh boy.
You feel that, and I want to, I'm sorry, one sec, Inga. I want to highlight that, Bolo. Exactly. It feels both weightier and also more exciting in terms of what you might sense there.
By the way, did Inge get any read on like if like the people in this mural on the door were like any specific people or just like general generic dwarf, elf, and man?
Make another lore check for me, please.
Lore. But like
I'm going to give you +2 on this too. This is not an advantage. I'm just going to give you lore, but you're going to get +2 on this.
So 12.
Yeah, you're pretty sure that you, and this I think is something which maybe Bolo also could confirm. You think that this may in fact be a picture of Jirian himself.
I heard Jirian.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard that. Okay.
Yeah. Jirian's
Is that a
here.
bowl
He says
of
hi.
mustard? What is that?
Brad, what is that? She's wondering.
It's split pea soup.
Oh man,
okay.
it's the best.
That is not as
Split pea soup is good.
terrifying as just eating an entire bowl of
It's
mustard.
an entire bowl of
without
mustard.
anything.
Okay, so that passageway opens up to what you see.
Yeah, Inge points at the gate after having it opened and gestures to Domi. Well, after you, I suppose. You want to go first?
And he nods and he says, "I thank you. Have a care. These places were, well, they were dark areas in more ways than just the physical." And he walks through this roughly hewn tunnel, and that goes all the way until we get to here. Again, please ignore the numbers; those do not exist. And this area here that you see is a chamber with a floor covered by polished black marble tiles. And as you come into this place, Bolo, you start to feel colder, and soon you see why, because indeed there is a cold breeze blowing that you can feel blowing across the floor. And you can see why, because it is emerging from a fissure. And as you get closer to it, you can see it is a fissure which basically divides the room in two. There is a narrow stone bridge right here, which crosses over the fissure.
Love a stone bridge in a hidden mountain part thing. That's definitely not been something we have seen before and acquired various character traits at.
And
I'm freaking out a bit because
I was just going to say that. Yep. Because why?
The
Last
first
time, like when Bolo felt his thing, that was like only Tawny was with him, right? The rest of us.
No,
Yeah.
River was there too.
Well,
And
but
Inge
you guys were ahead, so we.
Right, Tawny and
came
Inge
second.
were ahead, and you guys were behind.
Yeah, sorry, you're right.
So go ahead, Bolo. You were saying.
Yeah, so that was the first time that I became miserable based on some subterranean thing. So I'm freaking out even more at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna assume that is Bolo in front of River still? I think she would have just continued to bring up the rear once the stuff opened.
That's a good question, Bolo. Where are you?
Yeah.
In the middle of the pack. I don't want to be behind. So I don't want to lead, and I don't want to bring up the rear either. Both are freaking me out.
Yeah. River is going to put slowly put a hand on Bolo's shoulder and say, "It's all right. It's all right. We're all here, and we're all going in together."
Bola nods and says, "Thanks for that. Can you relax just a tiny bit?"
And Domi comes up to the bridge. He sort of looks at the bridge and is looking, and as you are looking over it, Inga, you can see that the depths of this fissure are difficult to fathom, and the breeze, as I say, is blowing up from below, and the bridge crosses over it. And Domi kind of looks over.
Noxious?
I'm sorry, say again.
Is there a noxious smell?
No,
or anything?
there is not a noxious smell. That's very important to note. No, there is not that kind of a sense from it.
Quick question: How big is each chamber? Like, I want to get a sense of how far we're getting from Tawny and the opening as we go down.
This is probably about, I don't know, this vestibule was probably about 30 by 60 maybe. I would guess 60 feet. And so, yeah, see, I think it's a little bigger than that. I don't think it's, well, actually what? That would be 20 by, no, it's not quite, it's a little bigger than that. But say that this room is like 20 by 50 or 25 by 50, something like that. This one then would be a little smaller. And so at this point, you're probably about 75 feet.
55 by 50? This is not 1, 2, 2.
No, I'm saying but it's longer than it is wide, or wider than it is tall, I guess is my point.
Okay, so the reason partly that I'm asking is more for a character thing than a mechanical thing. I think that in the space of time between them first walking in and Inga opening the door, I think River would have darted over to Tawny to kind of basically, tug at his sleeve. Sorry, Trent is probably actually asleep. But would have tugged at Tawny's sleeve to just say in a kind of sort of painfully earnest, wide-eyed need, Tawny, you have to see these, just for a moment, and tug him in just to see the tapestries.
Tapestries?
Oh, sorry, not the murals. I said tapestries. I meant murals.
We have many tapestries.
Just to make sure, she wants as many people to see them as possible and stuff, but it's really important to her that Tawny in particular sees them, and that they have this that more people have this experience, and so on.
He does come in and he does marvel for an appropriate length of time, and then with an almost kind of forlorn, all right, the moment's over, and he goes back out.
All right.
To that same spot, or because where you are positioned right now, you want to be close enough that you can sort of see both. I'm guessing, Tawny, because
mainly I want to see Clifford.
Okay, because that means you'll be a little bit out of sight of your companions. I'm just letting
That's
you know
fine.
that. Okay, all right, okay. Right. Okay.
Clifford
so
and the goblin specifically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the moment is sort of lying sullenly as usual. Okay. Inga, Domi looks at you after looking at the bridge and is like, well, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
Does the bridge look stable?
Make an intelligence check for me, please.
By the way, Bolo, are you
Right
continuing to move down the way? I just want to know because River's gonna stay behind you. So.
Yeah, I head in and check out this next room.
And
Okay.
Inga thinks, no, this is definitely not as stable. It's a
On a,
bridge.
It's just
on a scale of Khazad-dûm to,
right, exactly. How does this?
Well, she has not been to Khazad-dûm.
Might be a bridge too far for Bolo. Bolo, I'm going to give you an opportunity as well to make an intelligence check as you kind of move up towards the bridge.
Can I do one too?
Yes, you can. Not a
I'm
save.
extremely
a check.
wary.
But you made a save though. It should be a check.
Just subtract the 5 from the roll. Oh, no, what is your intelligence modifier?
Do I just click intelligence?
It should be, yeah. There you go. Yeah, because it's different as you can see. There's a difference in the.
And River also did a save.
River also did a save.
I did? Oh,
yeah, it's supposed to be an intelligence check because it
Sorry.
makes a difference. Bolo, I'll tell you what you discover in a minute when I find out what the River did.
I'm so sorry. I went to the. Anyway, wow. And I literally was hearing you in my head.
That's fine. That's
fine. Yeah, sorry. Straight up intelligence check. That's right.
There you are. Okay. Yeah, both you and Bolo are pretty confident. I mean, Bolo, obviously, being this close to the fissure is not comfortable for reasons we've discussed. But you're pretty confident, both of you, that this is pretty safe. It looks very strong. And if you had to guess, despite its sort of slenderness, again, you also, the both of you, know that this must be Dwarven make. The other thing that I would say, and Bolo, I think this is something which is, again, sort of additional confirmation, is that there were tombs where treasure hunters would think of these as obstacles to overcome, but in reality, there were oftentimes fissures and gaps that were placed to reflect the span of grief over which one must pass from the dead that lie beyond it to the living world on this side.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. That's great.
So
I hope
since
Bolo
Inga's
says
already.
that.
Oh.
I hope you share that, because I think River would be very moved.
If I know that, yeah, I'm in sharing mode at this point.
Okay. And Domi nods. Again, it's what I would have expected. And he kind of looks over at Inga and the rest of you, and he says, "Well, I suppose we should make our way across then."
Well, yeah. And Inga just like starts walking nonchalantly across.
Okay. So he follows you over. Halfway across, the bridge collapses. No, it is just as safe as you had expected. Nothing happens as you go by. And when you get to the other side of it, you are confronted by a door that says, "Hey, what the hell are you doing here?" No, you're confronted by a door on the other side of it. It is an iron door, and at either sides of the door hang two great braziers that are wrought of black iron, and they're suspended from the ceiling using long chains. The iron door is closed, and as Domi goes up and kind of gives it a tentative pull on the handle, not on the handle, tentative push, it is locked. You don't see any keyholes or mechanisms of any kind. And the wind is really whistling here, so.
So I, as a player, just want to point out that I really am on board with the interior design decisions that have been happening in this particular room.
Appreciate what's going on
black
here.
Marble door and then these
black iron chains. Yes.
Yeah. This is
or glowing green chains.
Green chains. Right, exactly. And
Inga tries to also open the door with natural means.
Locked. Very much locked.
She just closes her eyes, puts her hand on the door, and basically sort of whispers her magic phrase.
Wait, actually, before she does that, River is going to say, "Why is all of this so hidden? Why is it? I mean, why? I'm sorry, I know little of your customs, but why hide the tomb in the waist and then have a hidden door in the room from the waist and then have a locked door behind the hidden door over a bridge? Are we supposed to open this? Is this some violation of? I mean,
this is absolutely a violation. But this might stop a war from happening. So.
But why go to the trouble of hiding it all in the first place?
And Domi looks at you seriously and he says, "If this is where I think it is and what it's supposed to be about, then there is a reason that it was hidden by order of," and he sort of looks around, "by order of Jurian himself. But we won't know for sure till we can get through into this chamber."
I said,
wait. So Girion was a human.
Mm-hmm.
Jurian of Dale.
One was yeah. One was a natural lifespan, right?
Yes.
Well, I mean, he died before his time.
Yes,
because,
that's right.
Smaug happened.
He's not a Numenorian, if that's what you're asking.
No. So. And he had commissioned to have this built, but this looks like something that would take for fucking ever to build, right?
Not for dwarves.
Okay.
But yeah, just so River is just increasingly troubled by this. Not so much by the oppression of the place, but by the fact that it is something that seems like it has people went to great lengths to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And she's having difficulty reconciling that with the need to unearth it. And I'm wondering, is it possible to do an insight check on Domi and just see I don't know, in the sense of is this actually to prevent a war, or is there some other
Make an
motivation?
insight check on him if you wish. Sure.
Okay.
He's actually an orc who had his knees cut off.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you darn kids.
Well, that's not a great roll.
Domi's such a good. I mean, Domi's it's Domi. It's Bromy. You know, it's Domi. He's good.
Bromy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't get anything from him except his desire to see the end of his research committed. You know, like that. That's the feel that you get. So.
River just says, "I don't like this. I just."
And Domi looking up says, I don't either. I'm not sure how we're going to get this open exactly. Like, not understanding what the context of the question was.
But also, River's also going to say, there's no additional, like, decoration or murals here, right?
No.
This is, like, right. And I feel like she'll be kind of sensitive to that, to the fact that there was part of this that was for display and consumption, and part of it that really, really isn't. And yeah, I think that she's just going to. I think she's just going to say to Inga, like, I know we've come this far, but that door seems very forbidding.
Well, too bad. And Inga just like does the thing, puts a hand on the door and whispers her like magic passphrase to it.
It denies you. No response at all.
Nice! This thing is magically locked. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. So about like us not being supposed to go through. Yeah, somebody really made sure that we don't go through there.
River's actually very startled by this. Like, I think she'd been kind of bracing for this to happen. And when it doesn't, she says, Domi, I think I would really like to know what you think is behind this door.
And he sort of looks at you and he says, what's behind this door is clearly the tomb, the place itself. The question is, well, if I'm right, there'll be some kind of a sarcophagus or coffin on the other side. And there will be the final resting place of the eldest son of Jirian himself. His father, torn with grief at his loss, wanted him buried as far away from him as he could. And so he had this place commissioned in the waste, the stories say, where he would never have to see or remember the loss of his dearest son, though it's said in stories that Jirian himself came back and wandered through this mausoleum back and forth over that bridge and into this room. As for what is beyond that and what's inside the room, that I don't know until we see it for sure. It would be idle speculation, and I don't want to do that here. But I'm almost sure this is the resting place of the eldest son of Jirian.
How did he die?
In battle against orcs and goblins, like so many other cursed losses in those days. And it is said that he was ambushed, waylaid.
I know that you don't want to speculate, but if we are about to open the door, or to force open the door to the grief of Lord long past, I really do want to know why. What could be in there that could be of benefit to restoring peace, or what could be worth that?
So he says, I understand your question and there's justice to it, but I cannot and will not answer, because what I'm guessing that it is all still just a guess on my part. It is an heirloom of some kind. An heirloom that belongs to either dwarves or men. And depending on what it is and whom it belongs to, much of this realm and region will rest upon what happens next. You are a woodsman of Roscabel, as you've said, and Thane Inga here, of course, is a proud dwarf, one here of the Iron Hills, but now the Lonely Mountain. And for all of us, we are, and he kind of pauses, we are treading through history itself.
But we don't need... Oh, sorry.
And so he says, I'm not trying to be difficult, and believe me, I don't enter this place lightly. But I will say that there's no evil in entering a place to provide peace. Only evil in taking it away for gain, as that foul thing at the stairs back there would have had us do. We're not grave robbers here. We're seeking the truth.
I understand. I don't understand why we need to... We can move through history without being defined by it. I don't understand why we can't simply make peace above ground with each other without reference to something that was taken, that was so deeply hidden. I don't know.
But
you
for the
summoned...
dwarves, you need to remember that our history is defined by what we were. Without it, we wouldn't have survived. And a dwarf needs to feel it, feel the history in their hands. Without it, we're dull stone and rock.
Well, this is not exactly ancient history, is it? Isn't this like 200 years ago that Girion lived?
And he nods, he says, you're right, by dwarven context, yes. But,
River's like, that seems like a long time.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's only a couple hundred years, right? Like, just like, he's like, by dwarven
children.
count. But he says, but remember, there were things even then that the dwarves felt the men might have taken from them, and those might be considerably older. The other dwarves, by the way...
While we are chatting, like, Inga would be like, further investigate, like, the door and, like, the chalices around it.
Okay, the braziers.
Looking for, like, a mechanism. Yeah.
So there is, I mean, the braziers are swaying back and forth, and there are what look like bits of coal inside each of the braziers, which could theoretically be lit. There's not a lot of coal, but there's some. And the breeze kind of blows so that it's pretty strong breeze, and so even though these are very thick chains, the braziers actually move back and forth slightly. But the door itself is just completely a cipher, just, no holes, nothing, like not even any decorations or inscriptions upon the door. And so yeah, one thing you notice too, by the way, is that the dwarves have also, like, there's one dwarf that's back in the vestibule area, there's one dwarf that's in the passage, there's one dwarf that's on the other side of the fissure. They just seem to be like, spread out, just sort of carefully watching, each step of the way, so that you don't have, like, all of a sudden we all got cut off type of thing. Like, they all seem to be making that kind of link.
River asks, so, like, looking at, like, River has heard, I presume, stories of, I mean, also she knows Inga, stories of doors that could be opened with, like, a password and stuff like that. And partly thinking of that, and partly just, out of respect and wanting to know for her own sake. Actually, I don't know. Is it common knowledge what, like, Jerion's son's name was?
No, and in fact, it's so uncommon knowledge that I can't find a reference to that name anywhere, either in this adventure or in any of the lore.
I just said it in chat. It's stinky fruit.
It is not stinky fruit. I had noticed that and immediately dismissed it. It would clearly be stinky fruit.
Yeah. So River does actually ask. She says, "What was the name of Jerion's son?"
And he shakes his head and he says, "The name itself actually has been, well, not exactly lost to history. There was a boy whose name was Fenedred. But Fenedred was not actually his real name, at least Jerian claimed. When he became Lord of Dale, he had planned to name his sons and to create a whole line. And that all was what would have happened until he was himself killed by Smaug. Because Jerian, the Lord of Dale, actually was killed by the dragon Smaug, and his sons actually outlived the realm he was meant to rule. And his descendant, of course, that's currently ruling, is Bard himself, in this indirect line to Jerian.
Right. So, and when Domi says Philadred, nothing happens, right? So
Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly uncommon for, parents give their children more than one name, right? River.
That just seems like a sensible practice. I don't see why we shouldn't have many.
Her first name is The.
Indeed.
I have River's real name written down somewhere.
It's Avina.
Yeah, that's true.
That's cute, Rudnell. His name is Prince Durian. Yes.
Oh,
I see what you did there. It's
I
cute.
see, it's very good.
It's very nice. I see what you and Tren both did. It's nice.
Adorable. Anyway, so River, I think River will also approach the door and just to put her hand up against it and touch it and stuff. I don't know, I think she will also, perhaps weirdly, but I don't know, just kind of put her cheek and her ear against it, and just see if I don't know, similarly with the murals and stuff, is just she's very interested in the craftsmanship and the care of this and the feeling of it and stuff, and so as much as this is probably an investigation check on her part, it's also just trying to vibe with the door. Let's go with vibe.
Doing a vibe check on the door.
Doing a vibe check on the door.
So two things I want to note here very quickly with that. The first of those is that Bolo, this certainly, as you're sort of looking at it, this confirms what you thought, which is that this was clearly, based on what you've heard and what you've seen, was intended to be a mausoleum to hold royal family, and you've just heard from Domi what Domi said. But if you had to guess, this thing was also intended to be larger than it eventually became. So it was intended to hold all of Jerian's line, probably. But that work was abandoned when the line was destroyed, or thought destroyed. So you're almost sure that's what you're looking at. So yeah, and then as you sort of lean next to him, put your hand on it, River, you just hear kind of a resonant and you think that may just be from the breeze kind of blowing around and to the door, so it almost kind of slightly vibrates.
Ah, yes, the legendary didgeridoo of the House of Erie.
No, I didn't go. Yeah, that's what it actually does. And then you hear no, it's not anything like that. First People's Metal. No, it's not.
Well,
really
I mean, like they say, you said, this place was built by dwarves, and they do come from a land down under. So
that's true. Suddenly, midnight oil emerges from the fissure. The time has come. None of that happens. None of that.
Incredible.
I'm trying. Do you see what I have to deal with, Mel? Here I am trying to set up a thing.
And I'm sure if he had yet been created, I'm sure Lurtz would be outside with the rest of the Uruk-hai calling the Haka.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
The Haka is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, River, is it clear that the sound is the wind, or is it?
Yeah. Well, it seems to be. Yeah, it seems to be very connected to the wind. As the wind picks up a little bit, the resonance increases a little bit, so it seems pretty likely. Yeah. So it means that there may be some little bit of wind on the other side of the door too, maybe. But it does seem to be pretty connected to the wind. Yes.
Right. And I guess the other thing I'm curious about is if there's, if it's magically locked, there is nothing on it to suggest that there is an opening or an aperture and stuff.
Correct.
Then it seems like a password or a word of power is what's called for here. And I'm just wondering if there is a check that River can make on the basis of of songs or like the kind of legendarium around Jirian and stuff that might suggest something as a
thing,
as a possibility, as a
yeah.
phrase.
This is not. I mean, the door itself does not. I mean, you don't just. There's just nothing on the door that seems to indicate anything about how it might open or any inscriptions nearby. And of course, this whole room doesn't have any of the murals or anything like that you saw elsewhere. So,
right, but that's why I'm wondering. Like, it's more like in her own knowledge of the stories and things around Jirian, is there something that might suggest itself as a thing to be as a relevant,
not as a particular word of not as a particular word of power or phrase, not that you're familiar with.
Just I heart smog, I heart smog, I heart.
Smog is awesome,
Well, to be fair, like the people of Dale didn't know who or what smog was until he attacked, right? So
right, yeah, and this would have been built before that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, like, yeah, River is just trying to help figure the thing. I'm wondering, is there a check I can attempt to make with the stuff to move this forward?
Yeah.
DC 60. Yeah.
Yeah, DC 60. I mean, there's no.
I haven't made an investigation check, just to be clear.
Yeah. Well, you can go ahead and make an investigation check for me. Inga, are you doing anything else because you've...
Yeah, well, she was like investigating the
braziers, right? And so you found the thing about the coal, yeah.
Yeah, so there is still coal in there, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
both
then
of
she
them.
would try to, to whoever is holding the torch right now, take it from them and try to light those braziers.
Okay. When you light them, I need you to make a sleight of hand check for me, which is dexterity. Because as you're trying to light them, the flame keeps and sort of flaring up and then going out because of the stiff breeze.
But dwarves can make fire out of anything under any circumstances. Did you not?
I am aware of the stories of same, but mechanically though, and sadly that investigation check is kind of revealing, narratively, I guess what I was trying to, which is unfortunate.
21.
Okay, so you're able to get one of them lit,
fire.
And it flickers and kind of is fitful, but it is lit. The other one is not. So you just lit the left one, I assumed, because I don't know which one you wanted to light first, if it mattered to you.
That does not matter.
Okay, so
then,
one is lit,
I
one
guess
is
if
not.
I have to choose the right one, because that's the one that's standing closest to.
So it begins to lit, and Domi says, "I see what you're getting at. What about the other one then?"
Well, I was gonna light that now, thanks.
Okay, sleight of hand check again.
And if we need any kindling, we have a goblin outside. So.
Just like you're trying to get it, it doesn't. It's like.
Can I take 10? Are we doing take 10 in this game?
Can River try?
Sure, if you want, absolutely. If you could hand the torch.
She's slightly taller.
Yeah.
As well.
Passing the torch.
She's yes, passing the torch. Very well done. Nice. Dwarves, humans, hobbits, and Bjornings at work is too long for a band name. That's funny.
So that's a... Wait, what? Oh, okay. It rolls
You ended up
twice.
with a 10, I believe. Same deal. The flame, it almost feels as if there's this certainly probably is not true, but wind keeps extinguishing that one. The one that's to the right is lit, but the other one continues to be extinguished, almost feels like some kind of malicious will. I'm not saying anything where you have to start making checks, just where you're so Bolo, I mean, you see this.
Can I give it a try?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, River's gonna suggest. River's gonna say, she's gonna if Bolo's okay with it, pick him up, put him on her shoulders, and say, go for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Fortunately, being miserable does not affect this check. Oh my god, Bolo's
hold
this.
Hold on, though.
Yeah, tell me.
Because I'm underground and I'm miserable.
Wait, No, but wait, I would like to inspire you on this, actually.
Well, no, this doesn't.
Wait.
But remember, miserable as I recall, I will double.
Oh,
check.
it doesn't affect ability
attack
checks.
rolls, and you
it's
fail
only attack.
charisma ability
that's right.
checks.
Yeah.
If this were a charisma
And I
check,
got
it'd
a
be a problem.
natural 20.
Yeah.
So, Bola, what's that look like? I
Convince
just am
the fire
curious
to
what
get
the
lit.
ultimate lighting is like. Like, is it just like?
I'm using the torch to do it, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm like coaxing, you know.
like you are lighting a cauldron, or like for cooking purposes. You've lit so many fires.
Food, like doing it
Like that.
lovingly.
Oh my
Wake
goodness.
those coals with your tender, hobbity care and
Tommy's
stuff.
like, I've not seen such lighting of braziers.
using flank sear as a windbreak.
Yes,
Hey,
that's actually perfect. So it, as both braziers are lit, the iron door silently opens, and reveals an octagonal
5.
chamber. It reveals, forget the number. Reveals an octagonal chamber, and I actually have a picture of this because what you see is there is a
The
narrow.
cover of the book.
There is. I'm sorry.
The cover of the book.
The cover of the book. Yes. No. There is a narrow shaft of light, and it falls from the ceiling here through some secret path and way through the rock and stone and ground above, and it reveals, popping up right now on Roll20, this. It falls onto a stone sarcophagus in the middle of the room. It is a massive oblong block of limestone upon which is laid a great slab of white marble.
It's on the stream, not on Roll20.
This is on the stream, right? Not Roll20. Yep, thank you. The slab is perfectly polished, and its surface is graven with runes that read, and there is one line that is done in the equivalent of common, or, like language that most of you could read. Dalish
right?
would be. And then another set of runes below in Dwarvish, but Inga, you can see that it says the exact same thing in both. And it says...
But you wouldn't tell them because dwarves make a point out of not
That's
speaking
true. They
Cthulhu
wouldn't say
around
what it is.
non-dwarves.
Well, that's true. But there was a form of Dwarvish runes, though, that were allowed to be seen that were basically like for, if you're like translating something directly, it's kind of like not actual secret, stuff that's being said.
Well, but that's the script, not the language, right?
Yes. Yes, that's true. But these are dwarven runes below it. In any case, the runes read, "He who lies here was a prince among men, firstborn of Girion, Lord of Dale." And the sides of the sarcophagus, as you can see, are carved with these what look like Dalish riders hunting deer in a forest. The fair faces of elves hiding in the trees spy the passing hunters. The presence of a couple of hideous, many-legged creatures identifies the forest as Mirkwood. The walls of this chamber are lined with shelves, and they are laden with many wooden chests and ivory caskets and cabinets, glass urns and vases and golden bowls, dishes and cups. And on the floor along the walls, Bolo, you take particular note that there are mounds of coins and trunks and boxes. There is fine pottery, there are banners and ruined tapestries, and racks of blades, well crafted and rusty, set alongside suits of armor. And hanging on a stand right behind the sarcophagus is a spectacular coat of armor. When your torchlight falls on it, these are clearly, Inga, dwarf-linked rings. They shimmer like flames upon water, for a moment filling the sepulchre with the blaze of ghostly dragon fire.
Clearly,
I
they're
guess-
crap.
I feel like we should end it there.
Not quite.
No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Right.
guess Inga would step into the room and like stand to the side with like her axe like in front of her, putting both hands on there and just like, well, Domi, is that the thing we came for?
And Domi sort of comes in silent. You feel like you're entering a church, a sanctuary, right? And,
A tomb.
comes
tomb.
over to look at it and sort of leans in close. And he nods and he says, "Aye, this is it. This is the suit of armor. And he kind of looks back at all of you. And it belongs... Well, he shakes his head. It was Jirian's, but made by dwarves. I feared this would be here, but rumors were tearing us apart. Now I know indeed that it exists, and now we will have to decide how we present this to the outside world, before dwarves and men renew ancient rivalries and hatreds over whom this belongs to. And as you're all...
What does this mean?
I don't... Are you saying that because it belongs... Because it is here in the tomb of Jirian's son, that proves that Jirian paid for it and that it belongs to him?
Yes, but the dwarves themselves also believe that since it was made by them, that they should lay claim to it. This was what I came to speak to King Bard about how to sort this out. This armor cannot be split. It is obviously essential to the people of Dale. But my people, he looks at you, Inga, your people, if you've known what's happened over the last months, they are already on edge, believing too much has been given to the world of men by the dwarves. Something like this, a work of craftsmanship like this by the dwarves. And he shakes his head. The dwarves will not want to give this up. And
do you know how Girion got to possess this armor?
Yes, I believe that Girion requested it be made. I've been thinking about this anyway down here. All of this was made for Girion, but it was made by dwarves at a time when the two worked together. He would have done the same thing. But there's no record, you see, of him having actually paid for it. He was certainly not a thief. I don't think he took it from the dwarves. But without anything to prove it, the dwarves could well believe that this is simply another thing looted from their ancient caverns and taken elsewhere. That's the problem, you see. Both sides could claim it, and right now both sides are in a mind to do so.
It's just
River,
a suit of armor.
Yeah, River looks absolutely dumbfounded by this, and she's like, she says, I am from a place where we don't have such fine things and do not perhaps know correctly how to value them. But are you saying that... I'm sorry, what I don't understand is that this suit of armor has been hidden several layers underground. It was doing no good to anyone, and I don't understand why we would come seeking it in the first place if what it would do removed from this chamber is further exacerbate the problems that currently exist.
And he says, he looks at you with this very sad expression, and he says, I agree with you. There's wisdom in your words. But too many of my people and too many of the men of Dale believe that there's more to it than that. That it's not about working together, but one having their own. And once the dragon was removed, all of those ancient thoughts and rivalries were raised again. If not for the Battle of Five Armies, it would have been a battle between many of those armies, the ones that were fighting elves, dwarves, and men. We've heard stories of those times, and he shakes his head. And now the times have seemed to come again. Always it is these things that separate us. The things that we make as gifts become wedges to divide us from one another. But I'm old.
A suit of armor is not going. Is not worth going over war. Is not worth. For fuck's sake. A suit of armor is not worth going to war over for.
But that's not how dwarves or men many times will see it.
Well, if they can't fucking And like Inga just grabs the armor, right? Like, is it like just laying there, or
You know,
what?
it's on a stand, and when
Yeah.
you grab it, Domi's like, wait, and he seems like very like, he's like very like, hold on, like, have a care. Now, as you do this, Bolo, you of course have been gazing upon this, and I'm wondering first of all what you're thinking, and then I need to talk about something that happens to the whole group. So you tell me first.
Yeah. So this is the suit of armor that Bilbo had mentioned to me, and the thing that has been kind of the focus of my treasure hunting experience up to this point.
Which, just out of curiosity, has Bolo ever mentioned that? Like, he's never actually shared this, right? Yeah, okay.
Other than
so
you're
like
looking for
kind of a
treasure in
secret
general, yeah.
Thing, yeah. So like his other evolution about like adventure being more than just adventure, you know, there's danger, there are relationships, there are things that mean more than just the adventure itself, you know. He's coming to realize that treasure is not just treasure. Treasure has a history and it has meaning and it has weight, you know, and
the real treasure is the friends we made along the way.
That's what I should be searching for.
Yeah.
And I found it too.
Well, like, it's not what he's looking for, but it was what he needed and what he found.
Needed, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's, you know, it's a bit of awe and it's a bit of realization, you know, as well, that treasure is more than just a thing.
Yeah.
It's more than just value, it's history, and it's you know, the symbolism, and symbols have meaning.
As you're sort of thinking about that, and as Inga grabs the armor, you feel inside the mausoleum, all of you, except for Tani, and I'll come to Tani in a minute, a sudden chill. And there is a certainty with all of you. In particular, River, I would say you have this certainty that something terrible has manifested on the surface. I need all of you inside the mausoleum to make a wisdom saving throw for me, please.
Oh boy, is this something I can use inspiration on for other people?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna give Inga inspiration on this. It's my last one of the month, so I'm just gonna put it in there.
I'll be using that for my saves. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
I did not.
Oh no!
Yeah, you.
Boy. Oh no! Oh dear.
Well,
oh,
very thematically appropriate.
No, I know it. I know it. It's
Inga
amazing.
is like
It's truly amazing.
Stressed. Really
I don't know if
stressed
any chat wants to do any more inspiration. We don't have another one of these this month, so.
Trent, do you have? Yeah, what, like Trent needs one, or is offering to use?
No,
one?
I have
mausoleum.
two.
Yeah, Trent
I have
does
two.
one.
I can give to other people.
That's true. So he has one. So
Hooray.
so far we've got Bolo had Bolo did or did not have inspiration. It doesn't actually matter for Bolo in this case. But,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Inga had inspiration and obviously is using it.
Not like it made it.
Well, I know, but so then we had the River and Tani who need inspiration. So Tani, you can inspire the River, but who watches the Watchman? Who inspires the Inspirer?
Well, you said I didn't have to make. Yeah, I'm outside.
I'm coming to you.
Okay.
Your
I don't
situation is
doubt
going to
it.
be worse.
I don't
Oh
doubt it.
boy. Oh boy. Okay. Well, so all right. So I'm gonna take that inspiration. Thank you, Tani. Thank you, Tren. So wisdom saving throw, you say?
Yep.
That's not. Hey! Thank you very much.
You're damn right about that. So
boy.
those of you, and I believe it was Bolo and Inga, who had a 10 or a, what was that, a 7, Bolo, you feel this terrible sense of dread descend upon you. Now, the effect that this has on Inga is that right now, Inga, you are made miserable, which is a condition that already Bolo has. But it is a condition that which you currently possess, at least for the moment. Also, and you know what else we haven't been talking about is also stone. I need stone to make that check also, River.
Wow. Okay. I have no inspiration left for him. Okay.
how do I change
Ah.
my miserable score
Okay.
on my character?
He's already miserable, my poor dog.
I
Can't
know.
he
Well,
just have mine?
for
Can he just
Bolo
share
and for
mine?
Stone. So for Bolo and for Stone, Inga, I don't know yet. I'll worry about that in a second. For Bolo and for Stone, you are literally sort of like, you are essentially almost bent down to the ground under the weight of fear, as if there is something right above you that lurks. You know, Bolo, you are almost convinced if you look up that you would see some dark face like staring right at you. Domi, and you notice that all of them, including the dwarves, are all sort of, affected by this, and Domi kind of like, what is going on? In the meantime, Tani, up above,
Wait, how does River feel? I'm sorry, I was curious. Obviously,
the river.
watching.
The river. This passes over you. This feeling of dread, but then there is something maybe about the sight of your companions, your sense of kind of, perhaps I would say a little bit of even building anger at the thought of the waste of war, the waste of conflict, the waste of time, and also the love that you mentioned before for Inga. These things combined in you, I think, make it so that you are steeled against this somewhat. So you feel the dread. Also, your shadow knowledge. You feel the dread, but you don't. It doesn't overwhelm you. But it definitely has overwhelmed Stone and Bolo. It also has clearly affected Inga and a couple of the other dwarves. And outside, Tani, you notice both Lilimon sort of neigh and shrink, and then you see the same thing with Clifford sort of falls to his knees. What's going on? And you, Tani, feel it as well. I need you, the feeling is almost a physical sensation, as if you are drowning in cold water. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw for me too, please. Wait, hold. Wait a minute. Don't do that yet, because you're being affected by something different. Sorry, this thing. Okay, yes, wisdom saving throw, yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive, sorry.
Okay. All right. Now, before I click this button, does anybody want to inspire me?
I really do, but I can't.
Does anyone wish to inspire the one Mr. Trendane, one Mr. Tawny Bear, as he feels this cold dread?
Yay!
Okay. Live suing has inspired Trendane.
Thank you, Fox.
Okay. Also, I'm going to turn off desktop audio for 1 second. I just have to test something. Okay, good. Okay, good. All right, go ahead. Right, on you go. So, wisdom saving throw.
23.
23. So you feel this, and for a moment, Tani, the world almost seems to shimmer in front of you as if you're looking at it through water, almost like a mirage in a distance, right? Shimmering of heat, except this is cold. And Inga, inside at the same time as you feel the armor, this chill passes over you. Stone and Bolo drops to their knees. And then all of you, I hope everyone has their stream turned up.
Not yet.
All of you hear this. And that's where we're ending our session today.
The Banshee.
I actually want to know for sure, just like if you tell me the player this, did this happen because Inga touched the armor, or was it just always going to happen at that moment? I want to know.
The only way to know is to play more of the game.
I just want to know.
It's not your cousin when she hit her foot on the end table or Rudnell, no. So, yes.
That's cool.
Woo!
Creepy.
Yeah, and this is actually why I thought it was perfectly suited for the time that we're in. Very Halloween-y and dread-like. Yes, I'm going to be super fascinated to see how, as I said, there's a lot going on here, including, and I loved, by the way, excellent role play. Let me jump back here too. No, I'll leave the pictures up for a minute longer. I loved the role play of, first of all, the River talking with Inga, and Inga being like, "I'm fine, okay, I'm fine," even though clearly, maybe not fine. I loved the role play of Bolo beginning to sort of see what it was. I love that moment, Brad, of talking about treasure having a history and a weight to it that you hadn't thought about. I love that. I love the idea. Also was cracking up at Tani healing you separately. I thought that was really funny, but just the nature of it. But I was also loving the idea as you went into this place of the manifest concern about what you were going to see, and then just sort of the like, but I don't understand, like, what, it's just armor, like, why would anyone fight over this, why would it, and sort of the dwarves being like, yeah, we don't know, but that's what happened, like, because it is how senseless it is to focus one's attention and effort on these things, right? And yet how much of society, both in Middle Earth and sadly our own, has been driven by exactly this kind of conflict over heirlooms, or this belongs to us or it belongs to you, or Jerusalem is exclusive property of the Jews or the Christians or the Muslims, or instead of how about all of them, or like whatever, like, right?
I know the answer to that one. Just like do the whole King Solomon part, because like that's a part in all three canons, right?
Yes. That's right.
So just cut Jerusalem in three parts.
In three parts. But you know what? I'm saying? Like, there's this sense of like subdividing it in this way, and so I love that role play. And yet, this is what's motivating them. Here is this artifact that belongs theoretically to both parties. How is this crew? How are the Andronauts going to sort of navigate the dwarven and especially with all of what we've been talking about with this since we began Erebor Adventures, of like the dwarves being mad that the men are getting these things, and this mutual distrust. This is sort of building in on this, and that's tied into Bolo's looking at it and being like, oh, this is what a treasure actually means. So anyway, I was just loving watching all of that develop, and there's going to be some interesting things to navigate. And then, the screech of something horrible appears. I don't know what that is. We'll see. I will start as usual on the bottom of the column here. And I guess we'll take one more look at that. I love the picture, by the way, of the sarcophagus with the light over it. It's just such... I love that moment even in the Fellowship of the Ring film, where you see that, of course, Balin's tomb. And I love that image. Now I will jump back to cams only so I can show them in even larger form. Very good work today, Amal, with the river. Some really good stuff that had to be said. And again, I liked the sort of this kind of incredulousness, like why, that's being done on the basis of this. And each of you in a way interacts with this with your own knowledge. Inga because of her knowledge of dwarves, Bolo because of your knowledge of treasure, the river because of your knowledge of shadow, and Tani, your connection to this is also going to be vital because of your knowledge of what is and is not real and what is and is not. I mean, like, joking aside, it's a dream, like, but seriously, like, you have sort of experienced that on multiple occasions, and as the person who has, I believe, well, you have one more shadow point than the river does, but you have throughout the course of the adventure, you have 4. But throughout the adventure, you have generally had the fewest shadow points, though. So there's just so much where each of the 4 of you have your own knowledge that you bring to bear, but in different angles. So anyway, I love it. So it was great to see that happen, Amal, with the river. How did you feel about today, and where would lovely folks find you?
I really loved today. I loved the moments that we got to have for exploring something. Like, as much as I've said in the past that it's very cathartic to hit pseudo-fascists in the face with axes in games and stuff, there is something very, very deeply engaging and maybe not as immediately satisfying, but definitely as more moving in examining something among the peoples who actually have interiority in this world, and them having conflicts with each other in this way. The big thing for River in particular is just not understanding why they're going to this place at all. Like, for her, it's like, this history has been buried so deep, and you want to unbury it to essentially stoke a conflict. Like there isn't, because like Domi keeps saying that this is about, you know, bringing peace, but it's like no one knew this was here for sure, right? So now we know it's there for sure, and now it's going to become a sort of, you know, Arkenstone's thing of conflict, instead of just like allowing it to stay where it was and to allow men and dwarves to like work out their problems as they currently stand, right?
Although I will say just one quick note of clarification, though. You're right, but the rumors had spread beyond Domi. That is to say that like Domi in a way was trying to kind of clear up the rumors and sort of be like, okay, here's what it actually is. But there were all kinds of things flying back and forth about what the dwarves knew. Were they concealing it from the men? You know, were the men of Dale like trying to steal stuff from the dwarves again? You know, all that stuff. So like Domi is trying to like clear away the clouds, and it's just hard to do it when you have this kind of mutual suspicion. So
So anyway, for her, it's still just like this baffling situation of people valuing the wrong things. But especially because they've come out to the waste at such like enormous cost to them in order to do this and stuff. So anyway, I loved it. I love the depth of that. I love the scope of getting to explore potential lines of conflict between the characters who are not coded as evil, you know, who are not irredeemable, who just can disagree on stuff. So I super love that. And I like, River is so concerned about Inga. Like, this is, I have been hoping for like a space and a catalyst to have a conversation with her about charging ahead and putting herself in, because like as far as Inga's concerned, it's like nobody else is gonna go down on my watch. As far as River's concerned, it's I am so full of despair that I'm gonna keep throwing myself into dangerous situations in order to wreck myself or whatever. So she's super concerned there, and very, very concerned about what's happening next. Anyway, that's me. I loved it today. I love seeing Bolo deal as well with like the combination of enthusiasm and anxiety and stuff about being underground, and it's all great. Where people will find me next, here probably. If not, obviously no one here is probably going to attend your class. So just
sadly
probably
not.
just here.
Sadly.
Yeah. Although given the opportunity, people totally should, because
I wish that it were made more available as a possibility, but I don't know. The university gets a little twitchy around other people attending those kinds of things.
I mean, like, in terms of being students and stuff, I'm supportive of
yes,
studenthood becoming
studenthood in general. Yes.
Yes.
No, for sure. Thank you, Mal. Good stuff today. Also, very good stuff, Terry, from Inga. You know, as we've said all along, this was going to be an adventure where a lot of dwarven stuff was happening, and that has indeed been the case. And I like the idea that Inga, you know, obviously is a dwarf, but is not lockstep with the idea that, like, well, of course, you know, like Inga theoretically is a kind of younger dwarf in that regard, and is also because of your experience with the other people here, Inga's kind of like, listen, like, why would anybody, like, why would we do this? Like, what a waste. Why? Because you've been spending all this time using dwarves to help rebuild a largely human city and everything. Like, it just is so senseless. It's ridiculous. And so having the opportunity to actually kind of see that played out and how the dwarves are going to handle this. I will also point out that this is exactly the kind of thing that Tolkien does in producing the Fellowship, the friendship of the Ring, the fellowship between Legolas and Gimli, which is explicitly listed as an example of overcoming an ancient hatred between the two races, and the fact that those two eventually become not only such great friends that they are essentially brothers. I mean, in every respect, that's enormously important. It's enormously
one way to interpret that one.
But it's enormously important in Tolkien's vision, like absolutely enormously important that be there. So I like the fact that we're sort of replicating an aspect of that here. So it was good stuff today. How did you feel about with Inga? How did you feel about stuff today, Terry? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Well, I felt great about it. Inga felt like absolute garbage about it. So it's like mainly that like with as Amal said, like that River is like worried. Oh yeah, she's like throwing herself into danger, and it's like Inga feels like really like fucking Sisyphus moment, like caught in there right now. Like she's like putting all this work to make sure that not another war is gonna fucking happen, that people get along, and then like this bullshit happens, right? It's like I'm too old for this shit. Well, too young, I guess, in this case.
Too young for it, yeah.
Because like she was born after Smaug arrived, so it's like and born on the surface, so it's like, and like also because like I don't know if that's ever explicitly mentioned anywhere, but like anyway, that's like my headcanon for this, or like one of Inge's motivations is like that, you know, like after Smaug arrived and then the Battle of Five Armies happened, blah blah blah, like, you know, like so many dwarves died, and it's like, okay, like maybe we should not do so much war, because, you know, otherwise at some point there might not be any dwarves anymore. Yeah. You know, so it's like, yeah, no, not great. Not a good mood for Inge right now. You know, and also like, you know, finding her clansman dead and like was like, oh hey, I finally caught his murderer, and then like, oh, he probably isn't the murderer. It's like, yeah, great. Not even getting to take revenge for that one.
Mm-hmm. But it's
no fucking done with everything.
You may see what the larger conspiracy might be. There may be something going on anyway.
Yeah.
Where will the fine folks find you next, sir?
Well, the Netherlands, hopefully.
That's true, actually.
That's true, actually, since I'm going to be moving to North Brabant, which is not in Holland, it's south of Holland.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's south of South Holland, actually. So, just to make matters confusing.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going to be moving. So I do not know when I'll be back. We'll see. Maybe I'll be back for like the next possible date that works for everybody else. Maybe I won't. We will see. But yeah, once I have time and way to plan things again, I'll be here for more Adventures in Middle Earth and or gamebook illustration streams, which sometimes produce weirdly like you know, weird tentacle seals, apparently, which I had completely forgotten about. So yeah, and I still don't know what kind of creature that was actually supposed to be. Was it the Watcher in the water? Oh, he's not listening right now, so never mind.
I'm sorry. I'm my wife's asking.
My wife.
We'll just ascend to Valar Hood again while you're talking to your wife.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Ooh, yeah, like we haven't defined yet, like what, like you guys would be like the Valas of. Wait, Vala is already the plural.
Yeah, the Vala. Yes. I think it would make sense. I mean, is there a Valar of the waters? I don't actually know.
Yeah, Ulmo.
Oh, of course. Yeah, but that's like the ocean. I don't know if there's actually a Valar of rivers. I think
Vala of rivers.
Yeah, the Vala of rivers should be the river. Just like using her name, she can. Yep. Yep. Or actually, let me think.
Okay.
Is there also one of song? Is that like Manwë is of like the sky and I guess the air. I don't know.
The
if
birds
song,
stuff,
the
birds and wind and air.
So that might be.
Why do I know this stuff? Like that's a.
Because the Silmarillion is a great book.
What?
That's where all the stuff is. Yes.
Where all the stuff is. I mean, like, look at all these bookmarks.
Are there conceptual
like,
Valar?
Like the terrible condition this book is in. It's like so. Because I like constantly like go through it to look shit up.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. We can continue. I did not expect I was going to have some.
This is my edition of The Hobbit that I had from when I was a kid.
Oh, wow, that is like completely wrecked. That's amazing. Yeah. I just love it when like books are like completely fucking wrecked from being read too much. Like it just like makes it more.
Well loved.
I wrote a poem when I was a child that no one shall read, but it was on the inside of this cover, and there it shall remain forever. None shall pass.
None shall see. So, sorry, Tara, were you done pretty much with your stuff?
No, I was like asking the tentacle seal. Was that the Watcher in the water, or was it something else?
It was like the equivalent of it, but I don't think it was the actual Watcher in the water. But it was supposed to be. Yeah, no, it was supposed to be something like that you then made into this like thing.
For some reason.
Yes.
I just want to point out, sorry, since I've done that, the broken pages that I was just showing you were held in place by an elastic, which also has broken and
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's just, anyway, that's all.
That looks like many of the things on my shelves back there have that same situation. So
Well, that just means that it's a good book, because,
right.
only good books get, like, read to death,
That's right.
literally.
Yeah, some of my books that were from my dad originally and so on are very old indeed. Anyway, but good stuff, Terry. Thank you. We will see you back here in whatever capacity soon. Moving right along, Brad, yeah, we got to get a lot of stuff from Bolo today, more increasing stuff from Bolo about Bolo coming to terms with who he is and seeing this item that he's been searching for that now he has finally discovered. And now, of course, the question is, it's sort of like the dog has caught the car, now what, right? Like, so, what do you do now that you actually have this thing before you, especially knowing that there is such a history behind it that is going to theoretically divide dwarves and the men of Dale, and therefore, what do you do with it? Although I had this image, I had this image of you just standing up and being like, "I will take it. I will take the armor." like they're just like, well, everyone just sort of stares at you. Is like, well, okay, I guess that's. But anyway, so, and of course, Bolo has all this general sense of misery to deal with, which is also kind of literally and figuratively weighing him down. How did you feel about the session today? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Yeah, I've played more than my fair share of role-playing games, and it's really quite rare to have something from your background actually come into play in an adventure. So it was fun to see something that we sort of worked up, in the beginning when we first conceived Bolo, having that come around essentially, so this was the thing, so it's kind of neat to sort of make that connection from initial character creation to, now adventure. Yeah. And then whenever I talk about writing or talk about, geeking out about Tolkien, I always say I love the breadth of the world, but I love the depth of the world as well. And this is what we're getting into now, is like digging into the history and stuff, like going back in the lineage of Bard and his forebears and the things that they experienced, we are now experiencing like secondhand, but still, it's cool. It's what makes Tolkien's world so much fun for me, and why some people groan about the travelogue nature of the story, but I love that part of it. Yeah, because it has he gives meaning to the places that people go to, and gives it character based on the history that particular place or land or tomb or mountaintop or whatever has in the world, and so this is more of that feeling where okay, yes, we went through the waste and we experienced some stuff there, but now all that stuff has more meaning, because now we're tying back into the history of Smaug and Bard and Jirian and so on. So it's just cool. It's just a cool feeling for me. So this was a really fun adventure. So I'll be back here in a few weeks' time, and no events. I'm gearing, and my big thing is going to be in December, my new book coming out, and I'll talk more about that closer to the date.
Awesome. Good stuff, Brad. Yeah, and good work today with Bolo. And yep, anytime there's backstory stuff, I will try to fit it in at some point. It's somewhere there.
By the way, Amal, I found the thing, Ulmo is a lot of water, so I'm assuming that also includes rivers. So,
okay. I guess that's
river
fair.
does not get to be the
Vala of water. That's fair. That's fair.
Is Valais the singular? I don't know.
See, look at that bullet. Look at that bullet we dodged by not actually doing what you all claimed that would have actually happened. See, it would have led to all this misunderstanding.
Bolo is a Vala of frying pans.
Oh, yes! Okay, I love it. Can River be the Vala of? Let me think. You know what? I can see it. She could be the Vala of like light hitting water.
Of winding paths.
Or of winding paths. Oh, the river's flow has its own particular Vala. There we go.
Dog owners.
The Vala of puppies.
I don't feel like she could be the Vala of dog owners. Her relationship with Stone is not one of ownership so much as like
dog friends.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Stone, absolutely the Vala of dogs.
Okay.
That's
That's true. But thanks, Brad. Good stuff as always. And then last but certainly not least, Tren. So as I said, it was just still, the hailing still was cracking me up with how Tani was doing it. But that's why it was interesting to me to see, because you're the only one who actually saw the disturbance outside, saw the disruption, and were actually more exposed in a way to it than whatever else was around. In fact, I would say that screech that you all heard is heard louder by Tani and by Clifford than by anybody else that's underground, for what that's worth. So there's going to be a lot that Tani's going to have to think about, again, especially given Tani's historical resilience to things of this nature. And that's going to be something which is drawing upon your own character's history in terms of how you're going to sort of be approaching this. So I'm very much looking forward to how this gets addressed in the next session, where you're like, well, crap, all right, and like checking on how everybody's doing, and how you're dealing with things yourself. How did you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
I liked it a great deal, and there was a point during the conversation down in the mausoleum, where something that the dwarf,
Domi?
Yes, that he mentioned, where he was talking about, if it weren't for everybody basically at the Battle of Five Armies coming together to fight the orcs, that they would have just been fighting each other, and it would have just been. And I was like, if Tawny had been down there when he said that, Tawny would have just been racked by guilt, because that's exactly what he did. He was fighting everyone, and there were no sides for him, and I was just like, ooh, if he had been down there and heard those words, he'd have been out the door. It would just be like, oh, just gone. But he got some other lovely, upstairs. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. As for where people will see me, that depends on how much sleep I get. No, it doesn't matter how much sleep I get. I have to do these other things. But the narration that I was doing for Pseudopod, which I thought was going to be in October, the story takes place like the day before Thanksgiving. So I think that's what they're doing. I think they're using it for the Thanksgiving thing. So it'll be next month when that comes out. Aside from that, I've got 2 audiobooks to finish. One I have negative half a month to finish, and the other I have 3.5 months to finish. So it's like, yeah, but it's the schedule has been adjusted, so everything's fine. And you'll see me back here at some point.
That's right. Coming up, I think, on Saturday for Eberron. If I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I think
We've got a couple of Warforged to deal with.
Yeah. And meanwhile, they're facing in another world. They're dealing with a standoff, siege, Western town. It's gonna be cool. Anyway, this was great stuff. I'm going to let these wonderful people go. Chat, can we get some love for our wonderful players? As always, I look forward to our next session next month. Trendane Sparks, Brad Bollier, Terry Toons, and Amal Elmatar. Thank you all so much, players. Lovely work today. And I will see you folks soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, friends.
All right. So that's going to do it for us. Now, there is one thing I have a little bit of bad news about here, and that is that I have no time to do nominations now. I've got to get over to GOG and get stuff ready. I really have to make sure that I'm getting over to there as early as I possibly can, because it's just I'm running too late and I can't be doing that anymore. So we will do nominations tonight. We will do nominations tonight on during our session, during our late session, which is going to be happening at, I guess we'll be starting at 9 Eastern. If you had been wanting to do a nomination, you can try to DM me or private message me or something like that. So you can do that, and I will try to get your nomination in. So just do it that way. Or if you want to pass it on to someone, this would be super useful. If someone is going to be here tonight and you want to pass on a nomination to that person, that would be much appreciated by me. Like if Rudinell doesn't mind like taking notes on it or whatever, that would be super helpful so that I can make sure that I put that nomination in. So nominations will happen tonight, and then final vote will happen I have to decide when I'm going to make the final vote coming to. So sorry everybody, but I am very, 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 very busy. So I'm doing the best I can. If you like what you saw and heard today, please make sure to follow the channel. Check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, Discord with !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets, website arvanellarun.com, financially !ArvShop is the merchandise area, !ArvTreon is the Patreon, and let's see, !ArvTreon, and then we have, of course, subscribing to the channel, which is always appreciated. I'm glad you liked it, Garlic Tofu. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you were a part of it. Chenrazi, these are nominations for the Patreon fueled, meaning my Patreon has enough money that we can do this, Chat Chosen Game of the Month. So chat nominates. People can nominate one game, only one game, and then chat votes on the finalists, which is usually 2 or 3, and then votes on those final games, and then the winner of it is a game that I play. And that's basically the idea. The Forgotten City that I was playing, a couple of days ago, that actually started as a Chat Chosen Game of the Month, which I ended up finishing. So that's the deal with that. And actually, you can DM to me if you want, but honestly, I am so swamped with stuff at the moment that if someone's able to just take it and let me know in chat tonight, that would be even better if they can. But if you can't, then just DM me and I'll do the best I can to add to it. So, and you do not, that's right. Thank you, Effect Life. You do not need to be a patron to nominate or vote. Anyone can. It's just the Patreon has to be at a certain level for me to do this, but you don't have to be a Patreon to vote. Thanks, Aruna. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. So, again, on the publishing side, !Icarus for my Icarus graphic novel, !Library for Tales and Tomes, The Forbidden Library, my 5e adventure and sourcebook, and !Gray Shade Chaos for my Gray Shade Kickstarter, and excuse me, and as always, !BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and !Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. Now, I am heading over right now to GOG to set up for D&D with GOG, Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So if you are looking for more tabletop action, you'll be able to find me over there in just about 10 to 15 minutes. So please stop by there. I will be back this evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. As I said, it's a busy day here on the channel. 9 p.m. Eastern for the Vocalists, and we're going to be playing a game that is called Wide Ocean Big Jacket. Kind of a funny game, which I can't really describe, except it's kind of a low-stakes visual novel, sort of, but you'll be able to see for yourself later on this evening. So make sure that you stop back for that. And that, of course, is when we'll be doing nominations, is tonight after that session is completed. Tomorrow, Community D&D, Dragon of Ice Spire Peak with the Shadow Crew, and, of course, Shadowed Mage as your DM. That's going to do it for me. Thanks, everybody. Much love, and I will see all of you people very soon. I'll catch you over on GOG.com. Thank you to the people who made this a wonderful stream. Thank you to Rudinell, Terry Tunes, Triffity Mats, Best Mods in the Business. Thank you to Rudinell, Terry Tunes, Triffity Mats, Echo Alpha, Effect Life, Amal, Chenrazi, Arenth, Garlic Tofu, Lone Wolf, Trended, and Wenchkin for being subscribers and or Patreon supporters. Thank you to Big Boss Black Fury, Broke My Stream Deck, Craigery, David Ben Gurion, Ananda, Little Roy Sarasa, Live Suing, Madding Sun, Major Makoto, Makeshift, Nonstop, who still is a sub. I don't know why he keeps showing him down there. Spike Trap, Uncle Spawn, and Zydem. Thank you so much. Good stuff, and I've got to get out of here. So I will see you folks over on GOG.com for some more tabletop play, more Adventures of Middle-earth to come next month. That's it for me. Much love, and I will see all of you wonderful folks soon. Be good to each other. Bye for now.